Plasma is simply the fabric of our reality. It is multidimensional. It is the glue of all dimensions and timelines. It holds memory. It is living. It is sentient. And it is the vehicle for consciousness, intelligence, and information. Science, for the first time, is studying this mythical, beautiful, mostly neutral energy that humanity can use to mold and co-create reality with. A lot of people ask me, is plasma conscious? So I would say no, but it has consciousness within it. When we're seeing these orbs in the sky, these literal plasma orbs, whether they're, ghost spirits in our room or they're in the sky, they want to show us, hey, you have potential to harmonize your consciousness with plasma. We can do it. We're remote viewing you through plasma. We can create completely new beneficial things for humanity, and we're not too far gone. But the only thing you can really do is not try to save the world. It is to work on yourself and know who you are.
So in terms of just a quick introduction for you, just let people know who you are.
Yes.
And maybe even prior to that, your life kind of started with plasma in a way, with your with how you were brought to this.
My birth father. The lightning.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that and yourself.
Yeah. So 2 months before I was conceived, which must have been in 1988, I guess. Now everyone knows my age. My birth father and birth mom met. He was on spring training for some baseball team in South Carolina. And a few months before they had met, he got struck with lightning, either once or twice. I think he's been struck twice in his life, which is already weird.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't know that until I think a few years ago. And obviously, for anyone that doesn't know, lightning is plasma. So I make a little, and then I was adopted, and they gave me up for adoption because I was, they were young. My birth mom was 17 and he was a little bit older. And so, yes, I like to say kind of like, what is the movie, War of the Worlds, that I came here through lightning, through plasma. So that was how I started. And then I also remember when I was really young, I was drawn to the plasma globe in Spencer's, but I didn't know it was plasma. But I just remember being so drawn to anything like neon, because neon light is plasma as well. It's a cold plasma. As well as, the plasma globe.
Okay.
That was my beginning.
Realize that. That's really cool.
Yes, yeah.
So a lot of focus on plasma today we're going to be talking about. So, and consciousness and whatnot. But so let's go to your total theory of like everything maybe. And kind of like your worldview of the just reality itself, the ether, plasma as it relates to everything. Like if you can kind of try to keep it kind of linear, and kind of just, I know.
My book is linear, everyone. If you really want to know, read my book.
Yeah. But
try to guide people through.
Where would you start?
Okay. Let me just let this come through and be grounded to put my feet on the floor. Well, I'll try to put my feet on the floor. So we'll start in science. Plasma is known, as an ionized gas, and it is known as blood plasma. It has certain behaviors. It helps communication. It helps clean up things. It helps transportation. These specific behaviors I noticed, and there's a lot more I say in my book, we can look at these behaviors and apply them to this energy that we have called for thousands of years, animism, energy that everything's alive, the fabric of reality, beneath the quantum field, 0 point energy, ki, prana, I know they called it animal magnetism, orgone energy. There's so many, I think it's Ashe in Africa. There's so many words for this energy, God energy, Spirit, Holy Spirit. There's ways that we don't realize that science for the first time is studying this mythical, beautiful, mostly neutral energy that humanity can use to mold and co-create reality with, for better or for worse, for our own heaven or hell. And I think this is an amazing time in history, because the first time I feel like I have realized, and most people now, many people, not most, are realizing that we're studying the female God, that we're studying this energy and science, and we can learn more about this mystical energy from its scientific properties. And I call it like this black elephant. I think that's a thing in philosophy where science is a lens and we're studying plasma's leg, but we don't realize it's this whole expanded thing. So to view plasma holistically, I would expand the definition of plasma. So I would call scientific plasma. And I would say plasma is simply the fabric of our reality. It is multidimensional. It is the glue of all dimensions and timelines. It holds memory. It is living. It is sentient. And it is the vehicle for consciousness, intelligence, and information. And I'd be happy to go into those. And yeah, I'll stop there and let you ask more questions.
No, that's great. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, let's dive a little bit deeper into that. I mean, and whichever component you want to jump into, the sentient and living component is certainly interesting.
So I can go more on that because a lot of people ask me, is plasma conscious? So I would say no, but it has consciousness within it. So the best way to explain it is there are neutral particles of plasma. I call plasma spherules. These are the finest plasma you could ever think of. Think of it like pixels on a TV screen. They just make up the fabric of our reality. They can be filled in by anything and created with to create reality. Then they're like, picture it neutral, and then consciousness is kind of like the color, and together they make a painting. So it's kind of like plasma is the neutral paint in that regard. We then have different gradients of this painting. So, picture looking at a plasma painting. We're all inside it right now talking. Then picture turning the painting to the side. And you see the third dimension, which is our reality. And then there'll be the picture frame, which is the fourth dimension, which surrounds the whole third dimension. And then there'll be everything outside of the picture, which is what I call the fifth dimension, which is where you can access every other world possible. That is, the fifth dimensional plasma is totally outside of time. So there are beings of consciousness. I call them our higher selves. They live there as a collective consciousness, but also still individualized. And they are all our higher selves in the future, but also right now. And then they communicate through this picture frame, through this middle layer, what I call four-dimensional plasma or dark plasma. You could literally call it the collective unconscious. It is like I'll go into that in a second. But then, yes, that is how we see them. It is like their costume or mask to show themselves to us. And this middle layer of plasma reflects our subconscious. So that is why we may see demons or aliens or angels. These are all just mythological stories throughout time that we have humans have created from fear or from love that are in this middle layer.
The middle layer being the frame, the
4D
dimension.
Plasma. So there is beings of consciousness with free will and intelligence. Those are all these fifth dimensional beings. And then what I call the 4D plasma, that holds the informational beings, which are not conscious. They are unconscious, which is why I think Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious, but they feel very conscious. That is why when you are with, some kind of, scary entity or even beautiful entity, it feels conscious, but what you don't realize is they're all in there because they're imprinted from our consciousness, right? They're almost like shadows of our consciousness. So all of our ancestral trauma is in there. That is the realm where time is circular. It's all past, present, future. So it could be a past life memory that's coming to you as a gray alien. It could be a horrible trauma from your childhood that comes to you as like a Dakini or a witch lady. So I'm not saying those aren't real experiences, but I feel in my heart that they don't have free will, but all of these beings, which I just call them all plasma beings, intelligent and informational. Intelligence fifth dimensional, and informational is four dimensional. Their only goal is to help us evolve and experience life. And if we can look at them like that, it can take our fear away. It puts the power back in me that I don't need any religion or science to interact with them. I can do this in my home anytime I want. I can also not interact with them because I have the power to set boundaries energetically and, go to an amusement park for a day and then watch a movie at night, and I don't have to talk to any of these beings. So yeah, I know I went off on a tangent there, but
No, that's good stuff. No, I think that kind of explains, it paints a picture of what you're thinking reality kind of looks like from a, go ahead.
Yeah. Yes. One more thing. This is a very important thing. So yeah, picture for a second my body as 4-dimensional plasma. And I'm clay. And don't think my arms are part of my body. This is me, 3rd-dimensional Dana, my personality, my created self this time around. This is my 5th-dimensional personality, which still holds my individualism, but it's way more neutral, way more, mature, kind of like a grandparent that lets me make mistakes, but also has the bird's eye view of everything because it can see all circular time. And I'll explain that because it's actually really interesting. So when we're always plugged into our higher self, but when we have the awareness of that, we're molding reality together. That's why it's always co-created. And that's why you can't just completely create reality, because there's always this other aspect of you working with you that maybe knows something's not for your highest good. And it's not controlling. It's just like this beautiful benevolence that sets you up for the best timeline for your most learning and experience, which collectively helps humanity and the whole universe, right? And these beings are very interested in us also. And they're just our future. I call them our future ancestors, because we have emotion. And in that layer, they have what's called feeling, which is more like nuanced and benevolent. And they still have contrast, but we have pain and suffering here. We have depression. We have things that they don't deal with. So they're interested to see how we will work with plasma, with emotion, because they just create up there really fast. They have a feeling, they create it. And we can't really do that here yet. So they're curious how that will work. Yeah.
So how did you formulate this? Have you had experiences that have led to this?
Yeah.
Like what?
The funny thing is I didn't formulate it.
Okay.
So I've had experiences that like have helped me know myself better. And I talk to beings and I'll see beings, I'll have more mythological experiences with them. Like, in a meditation, like I'll visit the inside of the moon and there's this blue monkey there and he like dropped a key down my throat, but they don't tell me any of this. It's almost like I just know it. And it doesn't mean I'm right. It means I'm one perspective and it's my personality perspective. But I think the more perspectives, the more answers we can get. But yeah, that's the weirdest thing. It's like, I don't even know exactly what I'm saying, but I just feel it.
Just comes through you.
Yeah. Like I wish I am imaginative, and I'm sure like I cannot memorize for shit. So if I made a theory and then memorized it, like I couldn't do that here. Like that's why I didn't do well in school, to be honest. I hate memorizing. So this is just coming from almost, I would say, my higher self. And then when I start to constrict that, when I get into my logic or get too self-aware or nervous about everything, it starts to constrict my flow, and that's when I start to trail off. And if you see me looking around, my friend Dylan does this too. When you see me looking around, that is just me. Like, if I look straight at you, I won't feel like I can get it as much. So it's like me that's how I'm kind of receiving the information.
Yeah. Okay, so is it almost like what some people might call a guardian angel would be this 5th-dimensional higher self?
I think totally that's a great example. So I know you had Chris Bledsoe on here, so I'll make a cool link between angels. So in every single religion, you see these bird people. There's even a book, a Native American legend, I think it's called Return of the Bird Tribes. Very good book. And these beings are here to support us, and they're our family. They want to help us. And I'll talk about the plasmoids more in a moment. But I'll say it now just because I'm on this topic. When we're seeing these orbs in the sky, these literal plasma orbs, whether they're, ghost spirits in our room or they're in the sky, same exact thing, as above, so below. I get the feeling they want to show us, hey, you have potential to harmonize your consciousness with plasma. We can do it. We're remote viewing you through plasma. You can do so many things with plasma that are so magical and beautiful. Like, that is why you're here. And we're not seeing that. We're trying to attach it all to just technology, which is, whatever. I'm not against technology, but the reason it's here for us is to work with our consciousness first. And if we don't evolve our consciousness to learn how to work with it, we're doomed in technology, because the two kind of meet eventually. And technology is like a projection of ourself, right? It's like something we wish we had within us. We would be projecting way better technologies if we had more of that wisdom within us, if that makes sense. If we've realized how whole we were and magical. I know I went off on a tangent there, but the plasmoids want us to, these beings that are just showing through plasma, these are more symbols that we can harmonize with plasma. So when I was at the Bledsoe's house, I went to Ryan, his son, Ryan Bledsoe. I was with him and his wife. We were sitting in their backyard or side yard, and we were looking up and he was showing me plasmoids. This, though, I cannot explain. I cannot believe this happened. I wouldn't believe me either. These two beings of light, but they were like a dim light, like a softbox light. To me, they were cylindrical, and they didn't have a face. They just were like a cylindrical body, but I felt their presence, and I felt a wingspan, like vibration, but I didn't see wings. They swooped over our heads. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I would think I was making it up. I was looking around for projector screens, and they swooped over our heads, and for the first time, I thought in my life, that is what these angels, that's why they call them angels, because I know they have a more religious background. But in Zoroastrianism, the people with the wings of like heaven and earth, and every religion and culture ever, there are these winged beings. And I was like, that's what they are. They're our effing higher selves. So it was beautiful because I had no fear. I did go into a little bit of ontological shock, but I got all these downloads, which I put in my book, about how they want to support us, what they're here for. And I try to view that. I don't have a religious background. Like, yes, I was raised Jewish, but I never studied it. Like, and I have no angle here besides to help humanity and myself, really. So like, I feel like I have a pretty neutral perspective of these kind of things, but I could be wrong. But
that's a pretty powerful experience. So this was a visual thing that you and Ryan both saw,
and his wife,
who
doesn't really care about this stuff as much.
Right.
Like she's just a normal human.
That's crazy.
And I wasn't expecting to see it, so no one could tell me. It was like my expectations. Like I just thought we were seeing plasmoid orbs. I didn't think. No one told me these things were gonna, like, I had no clue. I don't worship angels or the devils or any, like, I just I see all types of beings in my mind. So. And I've never seen cylindrical beings with like a vibrational wingspan, like
cylindrical, like
just like a 7-foot cylinder, two of them flying over me.
Wow.
Us.
And how do you know it was a being, not a craft, or could it have been?
I mean, it was like literally 5 to 7 feet above us. So to me, I mean, they were like, you but a bit taller, just like flying through the air. So like to me, it didn't feel like a craft. Maybe it was like a craft hosting a consciousness, right? It's obviously I believe they came here in their little plasma overcoats, and that's just how they showed up. That's what my nervous system could handle. I think they would have been so bright they would have blinded me if they really could show up how they're meant to. I feel like they're like ultra organic, kind of is a word for them, or like ultra vivid, maybe like beyond ultraviolet. But they told me that they showed themselves to us in a way my nervous system could handle. And my nervous system almost blew out because it made my senses more vivid. Like the next morning I woke up and I could smell better, and they smelled sweet, like roses. And I knew they were my family, and I knew that a lot of us project things on them that are good or bad. They also told me, very importantly, never to put them on a pedestal, that they are not angels that should be put on a pedestal, that they are our family. They don't know some things. We don't know some things. They may know things we don't know, and vice versa, but they just love us. They want to support us, and not to put anything on a pedestal. And I loved that because that's how I knew I felt it was a real experience. Yeah.
And so, how did the communication happen? Was it just like you just got downloaded?
Same as my book. It just like was a thought block where all of a sudden I knew like 100 years of something that maybe not that much, maybe like a day of a conversation they wanted to have with me. I just knew it. I cannot conceptualize it in human words.
Yeah. That's crazy. Did you? Yeah. And then you went on his podcast. Did you guys talk about this, or was this after the podcast?
Yeah. I went on his podcast was the next day, and I'm sure that's why he set that up. And I did talk about it a little. I don't know how much in depth I went into it. I wasn't done writing my book yet. But if you check it, I probably said the same thing I just did now.
Yeah. We saw some crazy stuff when Ryan was here too.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. Big shout out to Ryan. He's great. Love
Ryan.
Ryan.
Where's the camera?
Yeah. They're all over the place. But we saw the biggest thing for me was these 3 orbs that looked like stars, but they were moving. So they looked like what a satellite would be like, but there were 3 of them and they were in a diamond shape. It was like a triangle shape pattern.
Oh, I have a lot to say on that.
Basically. Yeah. So that was really weird because I've seen satellites, and I see satellites, whenever I go out and look at night, they're all over the place, but I've never seen 2 moving together in an exact pattern, unbreakable pattern from the next, and certainly not 3 in like a perfect triangle shape. So that was really, really weird for me. And then Ryan saw one. It was behind my head. He was sitting across from me, but he said it was like kind of doing this like spiral kind of movement.
Oh, that's crazy. I've seen stuff like that.
Yeah. And then his dad came down and Chris came down and we saw nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I feel like when you put pressure on it too, and Ryan said this to me too, like, once again, these beings do have free will. Yeah. So it's almost like sometimes they just don't show up.
It was overcast. It was cloudy. Like it wasn't good weather. So there wasn't visibility to, stars or anything certainly outside of the cloud cover. But so, probably had a lot to do with it. But the Chris experience for me was still pretty wild. Like I don't know what to make of it.
That's okay. So the 3 thing, I want to bring up the triangle you just said. And, it's the Egyptian pyramid symbols too, right? So there's something very special with like the 3 dots. I've seen that time and time again. I think it has to do like how I kind of said I had a theory where the photon has 3 parts. I think every molecule or I don't know, particle, whatever, has those 3 things. I think it's also the same with like 3rd, 4th, and 5th dimension, kind of like I was saying. And, I know that's my human conceptualization of it, but 3s are like extremely important. So I think maybe that's something they're trying to tell us in some way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird, but yeah. So okay, so then would those beings that you saw be, and the you think the plasma that I saw, that would be a component of the 5th dimension?
So I would say it's the component of the 5th dimension coming through the 4th dimension, and we're seeing it in the 3rd dimension.
Okay.
So the way we're going to see it in the 3rd dimension is based on either our subconscious beliefs, our cultural beliefs, every timeline we've ever lived's belief. Like maybe, we have a fear of death from another life, of being poisoned. I don't know. There's like 20 million ways we can see them or experience them. And then if you have a more neutral experience, then I feel like you're seeing more of like its true form, at least what it wants to show to you. And then there's like beyond that. Like when I feel like I've had the most authentic experiences was like I went to the Monroe Institute. I was in this thing called the check unit, which is the bed you meditate in. It's like complete darkness. It's like a little cubby you sleep in. It's really cool. It feels like a womb. And a few different times, maybe twice or 3 times meditating, the beings, my family, our family, came to me as holographic lights just shimmering. And I feel like that was the closest thing to what they are, like a mist, a holographic mist. And they were changing colors. I can't believe like I wasn't on drugs during this, but like they were so... And I've never taken anything, LSD, psychedelics. Like, yes, I was a drug addict. I've done cocaine and alcohol, but I've never taken any like drugs that make you trip because I was so terrified to lose my mind because of how I think already. And I need to ground my work to really ground myself. So when I saw these holographic mists, that was like not even telepathic, more like a feeling connection. Like I just knew in my heart, they were my family. They're supporting us. They're the same things we're speaking of. Yeah.
It's pretty cool that you don't drink anymore, really. No. I mean, you're pretty...
Yeah, I don't smoke weed. I haven't smoked weed since I was definitely 21.
Wow.
Because to me, obviously, I think it's pretty obvious how my mind works, and I don't think I need any of that. I think I need therapy. I think people that, have these abilities, I don't like the word channeling, but you can call it channeling. You can call it... I don't like channeling because for me, it's like, it's just my higher self. It's just a part of me, right? Or it's an expanded me. So it's just like, I'm just here as her and sometimes just as my 3rd dimensional self. And I think people like that or who channel really need therapy to get grounded, because if you can't ground and integrate this, I would at least sound even more like a lunatic. like which I was probably sounding the first year I got all these thoughts.
Well, what you're bringing here is just a perspective.
Yeah.
And like, that's the thing that I think like people, at least that watch my channel, recognizes that like, you know, you're not like,
God.
I'm right and other people are wrong. Like you're like, this is my perspective and this is like my individuality and my unique way of thinking and what I want to share with the world. And like, that's cool. So it doesn't, you know, you're not a crazy person. Like this is, you know,
I'm God, follow me.
Yeah.
If anything, I want people to know that they have all the power within them. And if I can remind them of that, then great.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you think you kind of, I mean, you've always been kind of, I'm sure, free thinking, open-minded, you know, but was there, what do you think that's just a part of your true self, your authentic self, who you are? Do you think that there were events within your life that kind of shaped you to be
that way?
Yeah.
Yes, both. So, well, I think all as our, you know, expanded selves, we're all free thinking. And then I think we come into this world and a lot of things kind of maybe take some of that away. I think this is where you kind of see the orchestration of something beyond you come into play. And I call it the mystery. I can't really explain what this is, but just the way my life went. I think that I just picked up on things as an adopted child. And, you know, I think my mom gave me a blessing of giving me away because she wanted me to have a better life. I have no ill will towards her for that at all. If I was a teenager, I would have done the same thing. And I know her now. And, you know, I love her and my birth father, you know, and they're, you know, and I think just from that feeling that disconnection from who you think is your family or who you're connected to. And when I was born, I think I almost died. My birth mom told me there's a story there. She hasn't really told me the entire story yet, but I had to be like separated for 3 days. So I didn't even get held by like anyone really. So I was just like in the world, disconnected.
I was wondering if like maybe you've had a near-death experience or something.
During birth, I would say.
Yeah. It almost seemed like a lot of people, like Chris Bledsoe's had like 3 near-death experiences. A lot of people that are very open-minded and free-thinking and just download of information and energy have had those near-death experiences.
So the only one I've had is during birth. And I know that there was just an emergency and I had to get C-sectioned. And then, I was put in a room for like 3 days. I'm sure doctors and nurses held me, but I wasn't with my mom, who I eventually had to leave anyway. And then she got to hold me once and then I left. So it's just like a lot of disconnection. And I'm able to compare it to plasma because the truth is like we're never left by source or by plasma or by our families. Like they're always with us, but we perceive the disconnection, which was a huge thing for me to realize. And we create our own stories about every event in our life, which I also started realizing. And then, yes, as a child, I really did have a very hard life. Like maybe it didn't look like it from the outside because we were upper middle class, but my parents didn't understand me. You know, I'm sorry, Mom, to say this, but there were times where they told me they were going to like, you know, send me back or away, like just because they were so angry at me because, you know, my mom had issues passed down from her mom. You know, there wasn't much patience for a very effervescent child like myself. And then I was bullied by like everyone. My last name's Kippel, and they called me Dana Nipple, which was really mean. And the boys called me Medusa. I had like, and then every best friend I seemed to have would move away, like 4 in a row. It was almost like my life was supposed to be at first a life of disconnection. And then I was molested by my gymnastics teacher. He's in jail, I'm pretty sure still. And then I became an addict when I turned 14 because I had all these horrible memories and then drank and did a lot of cocaine up until age 21. I went to rehab twice. And there was a lot in between there, like just bad, you know, sexual stuff that happened and feeling shame and disgusting and embarrassed and just also the negative thinking about myself. But anyway, with all that, I realized at a very early age, no matter what I do, I felt in the beginning, I don't feel this now, like people won't like me. So I may as well just be me. So I was pretty good. I never felt like I was playing a role, but I do feel over time I developed like a surface personality, like what you would call masking, I guess.
So in terms of the plasma and like this frame, the 4th dimension, is this something that you think that we can visibly see?
Yes. So, I mean, I see it in my head. So I think I've had a theory. There's something I call holonic metadynamics. I know that is a mouthful, but it's basically the science of the invisible, the science of the unseen that I'm kind of coming up with. And I would call this fourth dimensional space where these like antiphotons are, right? So picture like a photon, antiphoton, and omniphoton. And then the antiphoton and omniphoton are not visible right now because we don't have the right tools to visualize it, study it. Only the photon's visible. And then when you go into the fourth dimension, the photon is nested inside the antiphoton. And then there's the antiphoton and omniphoton. And then those both nest inside the omniphoton, which is part of this fifth dimensional space, if that makes sense. There's something I call, now to sidestep that, I call these things holons, HOLONS. Picture everything as a holon or a bubble that has plasma around it. That is why psychics this is a holon. Any individual thing's a holon. It has a plasma bubble of memory, bioplasma aura, just like you and me have. So everything has this torus shape around it that holds memory. So I could technically, if I was very psychic, which I don't have this specific gift, at least not right now, to see everyone that's tapped into this. And I can also go into the perspective of this cup or a tree. When two holons, and this will go some more back to what you were asking about the observable. When two holons meet in the fourth dimension, just picture these like whatever, let's say it is information of like maybe a memory in there or like a informational being that's holding something. When that holon, that information packet meets your holon, your consciousness, in what I call a third space, a liminal space. I call it plasma intelligent space, a space of nous, N-O-U-S, like in Gnosticism. This plasma, this womb, this plasma intelligent space that we're in with this other holon, we merge. It creates I can't say the word Vescia Piscis. Ryan, you could show that on the screen. What I think it's VESCIAPISIS. It creates this third kind of disc, almost like a portal or like giving birth, that creates this third space. And that is called a gestalt. So when I'm with another, whether it's an information, whether it's a memory, or whether it's a cup, it creates this third thing, this emergent thing that is different than the two things, right? And it creates into at least just talking about me, I'm not talking about two fourth dimensional things, but fourth and third dimensional thing. Like let's say I have a memory that comes through, and then that's not good to talk about observable though, hold on. Let's say that a gray alien visits us and we're in a field and it leaves some type of burn mark or imprint like the spacecraft does, right? This is a good example. So we have the burn mark from whatever the craft was that maybe was a fourth dimensional craft, and we have the wheat field. And I'm still working on this, which is why I sound a little bit all over the place. There is a gestalt, a third emergent thing that is not a property of that wheat field or the burning stuff that is created. So if we can figure out how to isolate the gestalt, the third emergent thing, we can maybe start to at least get a gateway to this fourth dimensional space. I think also there are answers within science in dusty complex plasma. I think dusty complex plasma, which is a self-organizing, very intelligent plasma in space. Pretty sure they created it in labs too. It self-organizes, basically means it has like intelligent movement. And there's all these new things coming out about it. Like they almost look like they're moving consciously, but they're not. But beings of consciousness can use them, which is a whole nother thing. This dusty complex plasma is the best scientific metaphor for a threshold into this fourth dimensional science. So our best chance at studying this veiled reality is through dusty complex plasma and how it works. So here's what I'll say. I think we'll be able to study the effects, and this is why plasma is so amazing. The more we learn about plasma, its behaviors, and specifically dusty complex plasma and how it works with information or potentially consciousness down the road, we can then form a vision of how that realm works. And then, unfortunately, no, it's like not observable, right? So we have to figure out how else to work with it. And how else we work with it, to be honest, and this is what my book's about, is expanding our consciousness, because then any of us can go into it and see in there. There's a whole topography in there. This guy, Tom Matt, he has a thing called upsight vision. He sees the topography of what I call this fourth dimensional space. He calls it the organic metaverse. My friend Jason Paget sees into this space and calls it like the holographic quantum holography or something like everyone has their own names for this space, but this is a real space. I think there's a way to apply science to it, but it has to be a holistic science. And we have to get very like systems theory out of the box with it. But anyway, that's something I'm working on, even though I have no background in science.
Okay. It's cool. Yeah, I guess the reason I asked the question is when I was maybe 16, I saw for the first time what I feel like is like the ether or, you know, like the fabric of space time. And what it looked like to me, just looking up at the sky, was a TV screen that was staticky.
Yes, I'm excited you brought this up. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so it was like, for the first time, it was really crazy to see because it almost gave like a depth to the. It was like being underwater as opposed to being out in empty space. I could kind of see what was between me and the stars. Like it felt like I was like seeing the space-time itself, or the ether, or whatever. And you know, I think when you go to when I go to places like Savannah, and I don't know that this is the same thing, but you take pictures there and looking around, it just feels thick. Like it feels like it's just, you know, like old places, places with a lot of spiritual energy feel thick. And you take pictures and like the light, the way that the light shows up in the pictures can almost like fill the screen like a cobweb sometimes, you know, and it's just, I don't know if that is more electromagnetic energy that's traveling, you know, along the ether, along the, you know, or what, but no, you're right, anyway, just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on what you think's happening there.
Yeah. So, okay, well, let me start backwards. So we'll talk about the visual snow thing after, because I'll explain it, because I see that too. So I said no, but actually yes. So electromagnetism, there's some studies in neuroscience where the mind, the thoughts are electromagnetic. So in science, electromagnetism shapes plasma, and I'm saying that consciousness shapes plasma on a deeper level. So if our thoughts are electromagnetic, they're obviously shaping reality. And if there are beings of consciousness who are passed away, but maybe some of their consciousness is here as an imprint, which is more unconscious, they'll show up as photon emissions or light emissions and cameras, whether it's like maybe infrared or when, you know, you're taking the photo. So that's 1,000,000% plasma and light, you know, like it's not just plasma. There's, you know, other, you know, so yes, I think that's 100% ether, plasma. That's another great word. I'm glad you brought it up. So when I call plasma the fabric of reality, it is a living ether. It is a finer plasma. And then what you said with seeing it. So the way I see right now, I see these ocean of pixels, and they're kind of moving.
I do too.
Yeah,
100%, yeah.
Yeah, and they move. And then there's something over that or between it, which are these floaters. But I've went to the doctor. Eye doctor told me I have perfect eyes. I have no floaters, but I still see floaters. So I'm seeing the like amoebas of the fourth dimension, right? And I'm not going to see them as actual beings. I'm just seeing them as floaters. I feel like, even though I think they're more like my memories and spirits around me, because I'd go insane. So they're just, you know, I think when you're very psychic, you might see these things. Maybe not everyone, but it's just your intuition. And yeah, the best way to describe it is, just very small pixels I'm seeing. And then when I look at a light, more like the sun, this isn't a good example. So the light's not doing it right now. So I see around the light, it's just like, I can see almost like if we're in a cosmic ocean of plasma, which we are, I see the little grains and I can see them moving and swishing more. But this light, it doesn't do it. Around certain lights, like the sun, I'll see the toroidal aura around it. And everything has a toroidal aura, right? But I'm not seeing it. I see them around birds too. When I see birds in the sky, I see them in a bubble flying, which is kind of interesting. And then, you know, I'll see color sometimes. Sometimes now it's becoming a little bit more apparent that I can sometimes see things like I was in Asheville, North Carolina. This is a crazy story. No one's going to believe it, but I'll just tell it anyway.
Yeah, why not? Those are the best kind.
Yeah, just because I've been open more, right? And I talk about this on my social media because I have the visual snow thing. If I'm seeing the screen of reality, sometimes I will be able to see a being on the screen of reality because we are seeing into that 4-dimensional plasma or even the finer fabric of reality. I don't know. And I was sitting in this backyard. I just had finished my book before editing it in this tiny home in Asheville. And I'm looking out at the field. And I think I like had set an intention to see what beings were there. I can't, it feels like now is a dream, but I just knew to do this. And I was like, hey, show yourselves. Like, I feel something here, thinking it would probably be like Native Americans that showed up because I'm part Native American, or, you know, my higher self or something. No. This might have been a fourth dimensional being. This might have been a being from another world in the fifth dimensional multiverse space, right? But all of a sudden, these very tall, I can't remember now, maybe they're like grayish blue beings, kind of like grays, but if they were very tall and like felt a little bit more neutral or benevolent, I guess I would say. I don't know how to explain it. Mm-hmm. They were there, but I was looking at a frozen picture frame. They were just lined up against a fence, like just looking at me. Very maybe minimal movement or none at all. I was looking at a frozen image, but it had like messages for me, and I can't tell you what they were now. But that's just like one weird thing that I felt happen. And I remember I kind of softened my gaze, and then I started like just like instead of looking at the mountain, I started fixating on the visual snow, which is called gazing. That's like a sun. I'll say why in stargazing. It's really cool. But yeah, when I did this gaze, it's just started to come into my frame of reference. And I think everyone can do this, which is why it's so cool. And I talk about it in my book. I say it's like one of the superpowers of humans we don't realize yet. And I think eventually, if you expand your consciousness enough, you can control it and do this. Like, I can view another timeline. Like right now, I can view in my head. I could go to a timeline where I'm an artist and I can maybe learn things from me or her. I think eventually we might be able to learn how to see those things in front of us. Yeah. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And we're connected to it in some way, like our life essence.
Well, yeah, it's just like plasma, and our consciousness is synergizing with the plasma screen to see things. So we're putting an intention out there, and then it's showing us something. Is it reflecting my subconscious, or is it showing me something further than that? I don't know.
Yeah. And when we're talking about expanding consciousness and how the fifth dimensional beings are probably more evolved from a consciousness perspective than we are. What do you see as what does that look like, and why do you say that, and what's the cause for that, and how does that work?
Well, expanding consciousness. So if I'm like in a, as I said, we're all in these toruses, right? My torus can only hold as much. This plasma torus can only hold as much consciousness as it can hold. So if we don't work on ways to expand our Merkaba, our torus, it won't be able to hold this expanded consciousness, which is why some people can go crazy. That is a real thing. So, and I'll go back to what you're saying, but number one, like embodiment and grounding is so important, and doing like stuff like Qi or Qigong, because this expands your energy field. So right now, I think there's something interesting that's happening with everyone. And this used to happen with a few people in history that were maybe open to this. It seems like everyone's consciousness is expanding. But with that comes tension and stress and fear. Because when our higher selves are almost landing in us, these huge expanded beings, the vastness of the universe is landing in my circle on Earth, that is not as malleable as maybe it would be in the fourth dimension when it carries me off there as a being of consciousness. Because, it's my body, right? With the energy field, I feel like it's just smaller than when we're on other levels. I think people right now are going through horrible fear, and even me, and pain in their body and confusion because they don't realize what's happening to them. So I just want to tell everyone, like, you're stretching, where most of us are not actually dying or physically ill like we think. I'm not saying don't go to the doctor, but like I'm at least glad I didn't, because I bet you they would have diagnosed me with some like immune disorder that was never fixable and would have medicated me, and then like who knows where I'd be now. And I'm not against that. I'm just saying I'm really glad that like I listened to my intuition, and the fact that my consciousness was expanding, and like I was having pains everywhere. They started at my feet, went up all the way up until like right now I've been having bad pains here. But I know that almost like my body's kind of aligning and like purging stuff to be able to hold the vastness of who we are. And then you were asking why I believe that these were like expanded consciousnesses, how that works, you're saying?
Yeah. How does it differ from our consciousness?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not technically, it's like we're just like a prism. So, if you picture each of our higher selves as a diamond, we are a prism of that diamond. Or if you picture it as this big block of energy, but it's expansive for millions of miles, and then it has little tubes coming down from it. I'm but one tube of the cajillion tubes of it. But for some reason, my consciousness, my awareness is focused right now in this timeline, whereas it can be focused in another one too. And I feel like those are like my life is playing out in so many different ways from each choice, but I feel like those are less dense, if that makes sense. And for whatever reason, my awareness right now is focused on this timeline. So it's like a paradox because, I have lived other lives. And even though those are all going on right now, technically in the fourth dimensional space, my awareness is focused here now. But I don't think there's a difference. That's the thing. I think it's like our limiting mind that thinks there's a difference. But obviously there's a little bit of a difference because it's a physical reality. So there are limits to the physical reality, but only because we believe there are limits. And the more of us that don't think there are limits, the more our reality will actually become malleable. Like that we will be able to materialize things in front of us. But that's like, maybe I'm saying this because I believe it, but that's like thousands of years in the future. But it's starting now. Like we're being able to do things that I don't think were ever able to be done on a large scale before. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, I mean, I think one of the things we talked about a little bit last night was like fear and emotions and kind of how, from a evolutionary standpoint, where we're headed versus kind of where we've been and why we have those things. And we talked about how if there are interdimensional or extraterrestrial beings that have come here, that it's for me and you, we agreed that it's not likely that these are dangerous, warlike beings that are gonna, want to destroy us and want to fight and all of that. They've probably transcended all of that if they're able to break free, and it would be very difficult for a civilization anywhere to be still at an evolutionary state of war and ego and fighting and murder and figure out scientifically advance enough to be able to leave their own planet and to time travel or to travel vast distances across galaxies. And they would have had to have figured out what ego is prior to figuring out how they can travel, 1 billion light years.
Exactly. Exactly. No, that's brilliant. Can I wait? Continue.
Please. No, that was it.
Okay. Yes. So that is something I would love to help people with fear right now, because the fear of, what is that thing called in the air, in the space? A1, E1.
Oh, three-eye atlas.
Three-eye atlas. So once again, everything is a projection, right? So I'm sorry to Avi Loeb. I don't know him, but I would caution him, just like I project things, right? To maybe wonder, is what you're saying a projection of your own internal fear? And have you gone to therapy and worked on your childhood? Because I am, and I know that I have a lot of projections of fear, and sometimes we can project those onto space objects. Hollywood projects fear into like almost every movie. There's some movies that don't, and I love Hollywood and movies, but we do that, unfortunately, because most of us are in a fear state. And I would say that it is most likely, and I think a lot of people would agree with this in their heart, not their fear, that if there were beings that were trying to kill us or harvest us or come here and do those things, they'd be here, we'd be dead, we'd have no chance. They'd appear right now, or they would have appeared already. I think and I'm not saying there's no fear. I don't like the word evil, but there's no fear or darker things in the universe. Like, I have past life memories where I've encountered those dark things. Like, I signed a contract with some like reptilian race millions of years ago, and they kept me in this like jail, and I signed this like holographic book. Once I was like kidnapped by this rat demon. Like, I've had crazy memories of past lives. I'm not spiritual bypassing or being toxic positivity, but I think that those are all, there's like some weird failsafe built into this plasma where if you're not benevolent, you can't like travel through timelines or dimensions. Like maybe you could have in the past. This is why it's so weird. But I think at least now in this reality, in our present time, there seems to be an undeniable failsafe, and this is in every Hollywood movie, just like Contact with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey, where she gets invited to go see these higher beings that sent travel plans on how to get there, and the government's projecting all their fear that they sent a weapon and all these things. And then this guy kind of scams her, and this like mean scientist gets to go on the trip, not her, because he's like cooler and more educated or something. And then he goes to get on the ship and it blows up. And then she goes to get on it, and she actually goes to these beings in this other world. To me, that is like subconscious proof that these beings are coming through media and trying to tell us that the pure, not in a way where you've never made mistakes or you're innocent, but when you have innocent intentions and you just want to be love and help the world, even if you're, think crazy thoughts like we all do, you'll have access to these beautiful things, and you'll have access to these beings. And I think it's the same with the universe. Like if they don't have those pure intentions, plasma's not going to let them travel anywhere. Like they cannot touch us. Just like demons cannot touch you. They only can if you think they can. Like we hold the power in that. And I think, if they were interdimensional beings, they have to be benevolent if they could get to us. And that's why I think there are beings of benevolence all around us. And even like these unconscious beings, which I call demons, or, people see cryptids, all these things, I think they're all holding fear and trauma, and they are asking to be shown love and light, and our awareness will literally transmute them, or laughing at them. Like there's many ways to handle it. But back with what you were saying. And in those Hollywood movies, it's just so obvious that like the evil guy almost never gets to work the machine right. And like, why? And it's because of that, I think, with what you were saying. Yeah. So I'm not worried at all. The biggest worry, and I mean, these benevolent beings tell us this, is us. but with that, once again, everything's projections. We're projecting our fear right now. If enough people read my book and read other books like it, in the government and science and, wherever you are, people that make decisions, you will realize that, and this is in the unicorn tapestries too, where they capture the unicorn and they try to, get its gifts and it won't work. Just because the unicorn's like plasma, or it dips its horn in the water and cleans the water. That's in the unicorn tapestries. Plasma is the same way, where it can cleanse the water and air in science. So I think there's like an and it was literally painted, the unicorn tapestries, by a guy with the initials AE, like ether. And it's an anonymous person who made them. If these people in power could know that they are in a fear state, because a lot of us are traumatized, especially probably them, brought up in very like controlling households. If that is it. Thank you, Ryan. I should have said that. So the unicorn is plasma, and basically there is a mythology that if this pure maiden, and there's another tapestry with the maiden petting the unicorn, where the maiden pets, and it's in one of the 7. So if you find the 7 tapestries, you'll see the maiden petting the unicorn. I actually would love you to bring it up if you could find it, Ryan, because I can explain what the painting means. But basically, when you have those pure intentions, meaning authenticity, that's all the pure intention is, authenticity and benevolence, you will be able to not harness or control the unicorn, but the unicorn will reveal its powers to you. So basically, this woman is trying to get the unicorn powers, but you see that these dogs that are animalistic and in survival are biting and killing the unicorn, and then that guy behind there is trying to see how it works. The dogs and that guy are very similar. When we're in a survival state of consciousness attacking plasma, or the unicorn, it's not going to work. That's why fusion has plasma turbulence and it's not working. When we are like the woman who knows she's being watched right now, but when she's not, when we are harmonizing with plasma, it will reveal all its gifts. And it's so beautiful that plasma is literally a sign to all these people in power that if you actually heal your inner child, I know that sounds hilarious and spiritual bypassy. If you heal your emotions, your inner child, your fear, plasma will reveal so many amazing things to save this world, technologies that you all can still make money off of, but won't damage the earth. They'll be more in systems theory and feedback with the beautiful earth and with our consciousness. And all of those things will be revealed if more people just work on their own selves. Everything is such a mess because it's a projection of all of us in fear and control and power. But the thing is, we'll get control and power in a different, beautiful way when we let go of it. And I want to extend that to the people in power that you guys know it's not working what we're doing. So come on.
Yeah, well said. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So beautifully said. Well, let's take a quick lunch break.
Yes.
And we will come
Tuna.
back. Yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Sounds
We'll
good.
come back and finish up. Awesome start. Good stuff.
Yes.
Good stuff. And now maybe, what do you think a good segue into this back half would be?
Well, you know what? Let's start. I'm just going to let it come through me. I think with everything I'm saying, a lot of people ask me, like, what does this mean for me? Like, plasma sounds so cool. How do I connect to it? What does this mean for my reality? You know, I'm working a job I don't like. I have anxiety every day. I have a sickness. Like, is everything you're saying just like this magical fluff, or like what does it mean in everyday life for me? So I guess to speak on that a little.
Yeah, cool.
So the fact that if I am right and our fabric of reality is made by plasma, and that is inherently molded by our consciousness, it means that we have the ability and we are creating reality for better or worse. It is a tangible proof for something we've been told for thousands of years, that our thoughts and feelings create reality. And I think it can help people finally take accountability for their thoughts and not feel like victims, and realize that if you are in a fear state, maybe the fear is coming up so you can grow. Maybe it's not because you're doomed and your life sucks. If you're in a job you don't like, you can literally change it. And the fact that you're saying you can't change it is why you can't change it. If you're having pains, maybe look at your emotional landscape and your past and what you're not paying attention to. You're not uncurable just because you have an immune disorder. Even if a doctor says you're not curable, opinions are illusions. I learned that at the Monroe Institute. Everything everyone says is a projection of their circular reality. You are in your own reality. You get to decide how your life is, what you co-create with your higher self. And the reason also when people ask me, why can't I just think something and it happens, is because we are in a collective 3D reality that is material. So, you know, if I want to make you bring me a red car, that person has free will. You know, maybe my spirit guides can influence their spirit guides and they have an idea and then they choose with their free will to bring me this red car. But the point is, life is not about control, and it's not about power. It's about surrender and embracing the mystery and knowing that you could dream the biggest dream for yourself and know you can achieve it, but it might not look exactly the way you thought it would. But knowing that if you dream the biggest dream for yourself, you will end up 100% guaranteed in the highest timeline for yourself. And let's say you want to start a business, maybe it'll still happen. It just might not look exactly how you wanted, because, you know, when reality fills in, it fills in miraculous and mysterious ways. If we could control and create exact reality, number one, it would be boring. Number two, if I got everything I wanted 5 years ago, I would be miserable because I wanted a completely different life. I wanted to stay with a boyfriend who ended up being a cheater. Like, thank God we don't get everything we want. Plasma gives you what you need, I feel like, not what you want, if that makes sense. And it also gives you subconsciously what you want. So if I say that I want to make a 6-figure job and have my own business, if I don't believe I can, if my subconscious doesn't agree with that, plasma's very upset, because it's like this intelligent clay through our higher selves giving us everything we could ever want, but it's reflecting our subconscious needs. So if I say that I want all these things and I don't believe I can, but my inner dialogue is like, I'm scared of success. Success makes me feel nervous. I don't deserve this money because my parents were like that. Nothing is abundant. I'm going to get sick because, you know, my mom, you know, when I would get sick, that's the only way I would get love as a kid. All of these subconscious beliefs of this inner child, plasma is picking up on that and giving it back to us. So I don't know how I got here, but my point is, be really aware of your subconscious beliefs. That is the consciousness that actually does create our reality. And when that can sync up with our actual consciousness, that's when magic and miracles happen for our better, not our worse. I don't know where I just went with that.
Cool. No, I love it. Very, very cool. Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
What about like emotions and kind of like maybe free will? Like how does free will play into this for you?
Yes. Okay. So one other big thing too is it's very important to learn to be in relationship with this world with plasma. It's not about control. Everything is about relationship. So I'll just let people I'll let that subconsciously sink into everyone what that means for them. Because it's not about knowing everything. It is about how to be in relationship with everything. And then what is your question? Free will and what else?
Free will and just emotion maybe, but
yeah,
I mean,
okay.
They might be two different things.
Yeah, so I'll do free will first because that's just coming to me. So everyone also asks me, okay, Dana, if time is circular in this fourth dimensional space, which holds all our timelines, past, present, and future, how is there free will? Like, and a lot of people think we live in this control system where there's no free will. I hear that all the time. And once again, the control system is a bit of a projection of our own kind of fear and patriarchy and just thinking control is a thing. Control is, not real. We all just think we're in control. And so we are in a paradox where it is deterministic, but also free will. So if I am in survival consciousness, I am on autopilot. I do not really have free will. My subconscious is running the show. So I wouldn't say that most people feel like they have free will. You kind of just think life happens to you, like you're a victim to life. If you get in states of what I could call 5D consciousness, expanded self, just anything beyond normal survival, everyday stuff, you can create free will because here's how time works. So if I'm resonating in a state of higher consciousness, let's just say, like a lot of us can, anyone can, and not survival consciousness, my resonant field is resonating to all those future timelines and those past timelines. Every time I heal something in my past, like a trauma, that will change my resonance, and then it creates those future timelines. Almost picture them like in this plasma flux, this field that changes. All my future potentials change because of my current state. So basically, all our futures are potentials. Yes, our pasts have happened, but you can also call them potentials because we have the ability to remember them different than they happen. And there's proof in that in psychology. Let me get more streamlined here. Sorry. So our future potentials, there's no future that is set in stone, even though they're all kind of nebulously happening right now. Everything's happening based on my current resonance, which is for a fact, when you heal yourself, let's say you have an issue with your mom or dad, if you heal your issue with them internally, you will see changes in your mother or father without them ever healing themselves, which is very weird. And that to me makes me think that we can change past potentials as well with like memory and stuff like that. So in the future, our future is never determined, but there are always these potentials. But the way to change those future potentials, if you ever have a psychic tell you what you're destined for, is by your current self healing and your choices. So if I have right now, for instance, I'm still scared of dying if I become very successful. It's this weird thing I've had my whole life. I know it's not rational. It's just like not being comfortable with joy, right? And success.
Dying only if you become
So basically
successful?
My fear, my body's fear, this isn't a real thing and I know this won't happen, is if I become, and what is successful, but let's say I get the dream house in Montana and, husband and, doing what I love and it's on a huge level and the world all knows about plasma. I have a fear that I will end up dead, like Martin Luther King or John Lennon or any of those. Like media makes you think if you speak out against things, you'll get killed. And yes, there are people that get killed and that's a very real thing and you should have discernment. But there are also hundreds of thousands of people who live every day who go on and live their entire dreams and change the world and don't die. So I think my subconscious to say safe has attached to this thing of, oh God, like successful is too much of a risk. So it tries to keep me safe and tells me that if I go closer to that, I'll die. So I have intrusive thoughts about dying all the time, or like that everything can lead towards my death. So right now in my future potentials, I might have potentials where those things are happening because it's my current state of fear and resonance. And if I was to heal that, which I'm working on, let's say I go back to all my past lives where I've been killed for speaking out, which I have many of those. Some people call it the witch wound, where in like the witch trials, if you got killed for your magic, women still and men still today even are scared of their inner power because of that. So if you go back and heal those things, and also heal back when I was like a baby and the only time I was really joyous and then bad things happened to me, and reassociate joy with love instead of death or trauma, that will change my current energy field, my electromagnetic and my plasma. And that creates different future potentials, because all potentials are tied to my present resonance. So once then you're in a state of more neutrality or fifth dimensional consciousness, what I would just call awareness, or in your multidimensional self, you can create what I call emergent futures. So if you're in survival consciousness, there is all these future potentials. If you never work on yourself, you are locked in those fates. You, based on your choices, you will get this, this, or this. If you're one of those people that, is in therapy, working on yourself, healing every day, feeling yourself authentically, whatever, and you're in this more like neutral state where you know what I'm about to say, I know that I can create an emergent reality and pull from this place and invent something that has never been invented before in any timeline, in any future or past. I can create an entire new timeline from this fresh perspective. So we can have emergent futures, which is something, a life beyond my wildest dreams I can't imagine or pull from anywhere. Or I can live in more this circular time space where I follow a certain trajectory, end up in a certain place, and then realize that it's not fulfilling at all because I was following more of like a time template, if that makes sense. And what our souls are made for, the more emergent futures we create out of almost like this dark energy, right? This dark plasma, this energy, this is what creation is what expands the universe. So literally we're expanding the universe and evolving and experiencing through these emergent realities. So hopefully if you have questions to streamline it for people, you can ask me, because it's very all over the place.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
So do you think that part of your fear maybe comes from the, I guess, where do you think that comes from? And do you think it possibly comes from other people who have kind of gotten into some of the more esoteric components of plasma and, and have ended up dying
Dead.
These, horrible...
Honestly, yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't lie. So, okay, the first thing would have definitely been, and I've had this since I was younger, just like that, it's how will someone like me succeed? Like, I'm going to die a drug addict. Like, and I just couldn't see past that. I couldn't see myself getting good things happening to me. So it started there. That was like the root resonance that brings all these other resonant beliefs to me. But the thing where I think I differ from some people who maybe did unfortunately meet their demise is I always listen to that other voice, that higher, that expanded self being like, keep going, keep going. That's all it would tell me. Keep going. Like, your future is like more than you ever could have thought, kind of thing. Like, and I still listen to that because I still sometimes have a rough time. Like that I can't even imagine what's coming, kind of thing, and that I am safe in this timeline. But then when I was writing the plasma book, I think it was a mix of fear and people showing me things. I saw a video on TikTok about like 10 people, and Ryan, if you want to play the video, we can, of people who worked with plasma, more with like high tech and machinery that literally got like poisoned and killed. So when I was writing my book, the entire time I was very paranoid. I thought, someone's going to shut this down, because I felt like what I was thinking was so revolutionary that I have to be killed for it, because it's going to help humanity. And I didn't get killed. And then I started to surrender, because I was like, I'm feeding into paranoia and fear. It is doing nothing for my life. Even if it is true, if someone really wanted me dead, I literally would be dead, kind of like the alien thing. Like, maybe I'm protected on some level, right? Like, I can't explain it, but I may as well just think, okay, this has happened to people. I'm not crazy for thinking this, but I'm literally embody what I say. I'm telling people you're a self-fulfilling prophecy, for better or worse. I can co-create my reality with plasma. If I co-create a reality where I believe I'm alive and get to live out this dream and hopefully change the world with some of these beliefs and new sciences, and then I won't get killed, and I'm not going to let that be my future. And then little by little, my fear still started subsiding, and I got less paranoid, and I felt more safe, and my book came out. Nothing happened. Nothing was even, my book sales are going really good. Thank you, everyone. Nothing was suppressed. So I think, at least for me, as long as you stay away from the technology side, at least for now, like building machines that maybe disrupt national security or like can put oil and gas out of business, at least for now, I think I'm safe. I mean, in the future, I do want to do stuff to revolutionize the world in that way. But hopefully by then, everyone realizes that like we have to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy I mean, I've just heard from various people and various shows and whatnot about the number of people that have died or been killed that have been working on interesting projects, and plasma related or energy related or whatever. So
maybe I'm underestimated.
But good for you for overcoming that fear component of it. I mean, yours is kind of like a perspective, a philosophy. I mean, it's less about being disruptive to gas and energy because of new form of technology. Right. For now. Yeah. Yeah. But is that where are you taking this? Like, is that where you kind of see this going?
Well, okay. So I had to get really serious in my life where I could take two paths with plasma. I could either spend my whole life trying to prove it or my whole life trying to give people the experience of it. And I'm choosing to give people the experience of it to connect with themselves. I think if I was in my ego, because I do feel like I have access to ideas and things that could make machines, that could make, free energy and all these things. Great, right? But I think those are more what I call those informational future potentials. It's almost like something, this energy that is more fear-based wants me to follow, like every other person Orgone Energy, anyone who ever made these machines made. Where will that really get me? So I started to think, if I can teach more people about this and I can help everyone do this and connect with them, their expanded self, and know about this plasma, hundreds of people will create those machines to a point where there's a huge wave of this, and they're all smarter than me probably, and they have all those educations. And I cannot waste my life doing that. I can not only give people these experiences, I can teach them how to work with their consciousness, to visit these realms, to talk to these other beings, to know who they are. I can empower people. And I can also in the future make what I call supportive technology, which is what I call one of those new fresh ideas. It's kind of like the future of plasma and emotional technology. It's not using metallic machines. It's using organic materials, a mix of organic and inorganic, but not machinery, more systems theory stuff. Like picture like a floating blob of plasma that can synergize with your consciousness, but isn't conscious itself, a sentient cloud that can raise the temperature in your room, make your room smell like cotton candy, can vibrate a certain resonance to put you in a state where you can go to the timeline you want to visit where your mom's still alive. Just like really weird shit. That's what I see myself doing in the future with tech, is creating a completely new solar punk optimistic futurism technology that's never been done.
Love it. So if you were to try to teach people, how do you communicate with, with whatever, with the next dimension, with the fifth dimension, what is it? What are your techniques that you use how would you teach people?
Yeah. So I do have a school coming out, classes online. Am I allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, please.
I always feel so gimmicky because I'm still working on my self-confidence, but I am very excited about it and I should be confident. It's more my own things. I think everyone can relate to that. I'm very excited. It's going to be called Metaphysical Mysterium. It's basically like a Hogwarts for adults, and it'll start online because I don't feel like getting investors right now, and I wanted to do it self-funded. And getting an actual castle would cost a lot of money. So I want to what I'm doing is I'm making classes that people can take, and it'll be I haven't decided, between $23 and $27 a month, just like paying a Netflix bill, and way more educational, where people can take classes on new sciences, like real edge physics. That's a thing that has to do with plasma and topography and liminal spaces. And I think that, let me go back. The school is going to be for scientists, seekers, and dreamers. So it's for people who don't get that education in normal schools, or who don't know about mystery schools, to get all this kind of magical education that can enhance our field of science. And no one needs to know you're taking this. So you could not tell your you cannot tell your scientist pals about it because they'll judge you, but you're still taking these classes. And these will all be very legitimate things, leading me to what you asked me, one of the classes is going to be how to it's kind of like a handbook for the recently deceased from like the Beetlejuice movie, but it's like handbook for the recently expanded. And it's going to be a class on how to connect with this consciousness, whether it's your higher self or you want to speak to other beings, how to know about like your personal symbology, use your emotions, how to get in certain states of mind where consciousness is not constricted, where not only do you know what these beings are saying to you, but who the beings are. Is it your higher self? Is it a alien? Is it some you from another timeline? Is it a traumatic memory? Just like the nuances of that. And there also will be a community where everyone can kind of talk about their experiences, which I'm really excited for. But yeah, and then we're going to have what's called Camp Mysterium, which is a one-time-a-year meetup that feels like camp. That'll be almost like carnival meets bonfire meets like science classes. So it's, just a really fun thing I'm working on. But I'll give a tidbit now. Like if someone was to say, hey, Dana, like I have no idea what you're talking about. How do I get in like the right state to communicate with these beings if maybe someone can't naturally do it?
Yeah, like when you and Ryan and his wife saw what came down.
That's a good question.
Yeah, like what kind of state were you guys in? Yeah, like what's the secret?
So the secret's actually really not a secret. It's the easiest but hardest thing. It's being in a state of child play. Like me and him were just talking about like what we wanted to do with our lives. We were talking about like maybe there was a few people we didn't trust. We were kind of comparing notes on that. And then we were just like lightly having a high vibrational conversation about like dreams. And we were just like children, but adults just talking about like fun things and like laughter and neutrality, not really, no attachment to the outcome of what would happen that night. So I think there's a few things about your state. And this should just be for normal life. It's a quasi neutrality, same as plasma, leaning slightly more into actually a receptive state. That way you can receive abundance, receive miracles, receive what the mystery has in store for you. Because if you're creating stuff all the time, like controlling reality, that's not going to be that fun. So it's like being in this quasi-neutral state, being in a state of curiosity, receptivity, fun, play, authenticity, no attachment to the outcome.
It's like acceptance,
letting go. Acceptance, yeah. Non-judgment, some of the stuff you've talked to me about. Just being in a state that it's being.
No fear. It's just being.
It's just being. It's like when we're kids.
No fear, control, just being.
No objective. Like when I went to the park, did I have an objective? Like, no. Did I like count the time when I was playing with my Barbies? No, it's just in a world. Like if we can go as adults back to those states, those beings will definitely reveal themselves to us faster and we'll also just have a better life. And then there's something called, if people want to get more logical with it, there's something called creative imagination I would look into. It's in my book. I literally forget who came up with that, but it's a certain person you have to look up with creative imagination. Can you look it up, Ryan? Creative imagination. I'm trying to think what other words he uses. Say like some guy that talked about creative imagination in like the 1800s, maybe the 1900s. Okay, wait. Henry Corbin. That's it. Thank you. So I would look into more creative imagination. And then I would also look into the word, if you could look up negative capability by William Keats. It is a state of non-grasping. I think William Keats, but either way. So yeah, well, let me see. It is a capacity of artists to pursue ideals of beauty, perfection, and sublimity, even when it leads them into intellectual confusion and uncertainty, as opposed to a preference for philosophical certainty over artistic beauty. Basically, it's being in the state of paradox, getting comfortable with the state of the unknown. Because there's this great indigenous wisdom by this woman. You can look her up, Marty Spiegelman. She's a Harvard graduate. She basically says that when we're in a state of unknown and like open consciousness, I think she calls it perceptive consciousness, and we're not assigning meaning to things, that's when they can reveal their raw information or raw nature to us. So when we come across these beings or these energies and we're not immediately projecting onto them, and this works with humans too, you can receive the soul of who they really are. So it's just a great lesson in life. But all of those things.
It happens in communication with people, like with anybody. It's just openness. It's practicing being open and not shutting down to due to conditioning or beliefs or, whatever it might be that causes us to like not really hear the person and hear what they're saying and take in the person and what they're saying because it doesn't align with our whatever, our
cognitive bias, reality.
What we say is right and wrong. So if we can stay open and just say, hey, this is that person's perspective, then we can be there to receive and not limit ourselves again.
Yes.
Yes.
And what you just said brings up a good point too that I forgot to say. So this third dimension, this reality, is a perfect training ground for this fourth and fifth dimension. Everything you can apply to here with relationships, you can apply to there and vice versa. So not projecting, not taking things as personal, knowing that there's a lesson in everything. It's really cool when you think about it. Because basically I'm good in that realm, but I've struggled in this realm, which a lot of spiritual people have. Like I've struggled with relationships here, but I'm great on the other side. So I've had to apply it because I was bullied a lot. When I meet someone, I think they're going to hate me, and that creates a reality, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I've had to work on seeing the truth of someone and also being able to be open and vulnerable, which I'm still working on because I have this horrible fear that like if I tell someone, like if I tell a guy I like him or like, oh God, I shouldn't have said, but whatever. If I tell a guy I like him or like I am open with a friend and very like, we're connecting or whatever, I almost feel like vulnerable or like naked in a way. Like I almost get anxious because it's like too much connection and I'm scared I'm gonna get hurt. But what I've learned recently about like having an open heart is like, you will get hurt sometimes. You do get betrayed, but why should that mean you should shut your heart down? Like, so now I'm learning, as long as I have discernment, I can always have an open heart and know if someone does something to hurt me, that's their projection. And it doesn't mean they have to be in my life, but I can still have love for them no matter what and understand that that's just their journey in reality, which has been a beautiful teaching I had because I used to, once again, be a victim and thought that, everyone was against me and it was all about me.
It makes sense for sure. So, we could go a couple of different directions from here. I wanted to ask you what you thought about simulation theory.
Oh, yes.
And do you think that's do you think that's a thing or do you think it's nonsense?
Okay, so Rizwan Burke is a good friend of mine. Love his book, but I can see how, we are in a simulation of survival consciousness. Like we feel like we're in a simulation, and I think a simulation is a fine word because he's not too far off from me when he talks about like
a simulation of survival consciousness.
Like when I think it could feel like we're in a simulation when we're in our fear states and like, life is just happening to us and even like synchronicities can feel like a simulation. But I think if you expand the mind a little to be like, this is more like a organic simulation, like that always grows. So the more you get out of survival consciousness and you get into what, this more fifth dimensional emergent reality, you realize that like miracles can happen that would just be impossible in a real simulation, if that makes sense. Like there are emergent qualities I feel like that are beyond, I guess, a simulation. And it is simulatory, right? It feels like a system, there's feedback, but something new can always emerge in a complex way that I just don't, like I don't think anyone's controlling us. But once again, I can see it because there are these beings I'm talking about, right? And some people could say like, oh, they're running this simulation. But like, at least from my perspective, and I don't know if I'm neutral on this or not, we are more in like this world, this organic plasma thing that is just growing with every choice and creation we all make. So it's just not something that like a word that I really attach to things. But like, I really respect people. I'm not trying to talk down anyone to say it. It's just I do think we just have differing opinions of like how we're viewing it. But that's not to say that a lot of his theories I actually really agree with. So, but I wouldn't call it a simulation.
Yeah. What would you think would be impossible to happen? Like what happens in this reality that you think would be impossible in a simulation?
So I think in a simulation it's more like deterministic. And there is more running on, I guess, like chaos theory, not complexity theory, where there can be emergent things, but they must have been already existing somewhere. And I think in our reality, the fact that I at least feel like a fresh emergent reality could pop out of literally nothing, I'm pretty sure would be impossible in a simulation. And I might be wrong. Someone might need to correct me on that. But we're also not in a machine. We're humans. We're not machines. We have systems, but we're something greater. Like, that's just we're humans conceptualizing everything. It's not, I can't even make a logical argument for it. If you feel in your heart that that's true, then great. But I think most of us, if we really went into our feeling, we just feel like we are not. Like, there is just something greater and benevolent. We are not, being controlled or simulated. But then again, once again, that's why I'm okay with it a little bit. You can call it a simulation if you're more coming from the fact. I know Rizwan's very spiritual, where it's our higher self. It's like almost playing a video game of life in this body, and then it goes back to this higher self. But I just feel like sometimes when you use those words, sometimes they like constrict the views of reality and make some people think they're limited, and they're not.
Yeah, I don't know if a simulation...
Explain, yeah, tell me, because maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, it's all just probability. It's possibilities with probabilities. And for you, it seems like it's a low probability. For me, it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I think that if it was a simulation, we wouldn't necessarily be controlled. We might have free will within a within a simulation.
Yeah. I love The Sims.
And we might be alive in a simulation too. We might actually be like life itself within a simulation that somehow has been able to be captured, the essence of life itself, whether it's an orb or consciousness or awareness from prior lives, could have been captured and replaced into a into a newborn or something in a simulation. So
okay,
I mean, I think it's it could be any number of an infinite possibility as to what we're in right now, or if anything, is this base reality? If anything, I mean,
I don't think it's base reality. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would call that more higher space, a base reality. And who's to say it's not turtles all the way up or down where there's other base realities? Like, so I actually am on the bandwagon for that. The thing I'll just ask everyone to think about with a simulation, and once again, I'm open to being wrong. If it is a simulation, then it is. I don't know.
I don't think anybody's ever going to know.
Sure.
So you'll never be right or wrong.
Exactly. And that is also why I love his book, The Simulated Multiverse, because I, once again, agree with a lot of things there. So I'm just saying I don't think we're, in like a machine simulation.
Like Matrix.
Yeah, no, I really don't. I don't think we're meant to escape here. I think we're meant to embrace Earth more. So I actually would say the opposite of that. We're like here to literally embrace life. But my question would be like, why would a simulation be created? Why isn't it just something that has always been here that is being created more and more? And maybe is a simulation a term that humans made because we're projecting outside of us the truth, which is that this is a, feedback loop that is emergent of something beyond conceptualization. And we make video games based off that. But it's not a simulation. You know what I'm saying? Like, but then again, I think I would need to know people's like definitions of a simulation. But I don't feel like there's anyone running the show here. Like, at least my intuition feels like we are running the show with these beings. And then maybe if there's something bigger outside of that, who knows? Like, yeah, I'm open there. I would caution to... Well, let me ask you, do you know what's the definition of a simulation? Ryan.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Ryan, what's the definition of a simulation? Because I feel like it's like Plato's theory of forms. There's like the original form, then everything's a projection of that. I feel like a simulation is a projection of something more original and natural. So like, because the thing is like when I see these higher realms, they're not the same as Earth. So I feel like we're not simulated of that. And I feel like we're not experiments for them. If anything, they learn from us and we learn from them.
Yeah.
But once again, I think this kind of stuff is modeled from a lot. I think that this is like maybe one sliver off from like the truth, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think this is the truth too.
When we go to, it's all belief and it's all opinion and speculation, of course, when we're talking about stuff like this, because you can't prove it. But
and Rizwan doesn't say we're in a machine. So I would have to read his book again, but I really think I do agree with like 90% of what he says. Yeah. Like I just don't use that word because other people have other connotations to it that bother me.
Right. Yeah. It's, I think where my mind goes with a lot of this, a lot of topics like this are kind of to the experiencers when we can, as opposed to the believers. Like when we look at the UAP topic, there are people who have experienced the UAP topic, unless they're all lying, unless everybody, millions of people are lying. But I've experienced the UAP topic.
Yeah.
When you look at the paranormal topic, like unless millions of people are lying, then there's something that's paranormal that's going on. I've experienced the paranormal topic.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not lying. I know I'm not lying. So I know there's something there. So what I go to is I believe the experiencers for the most part. When you get enough people saying the same thing about something, whether it's the UFO phenomenon or paranormal or simulation or God, or whatever it is, I tend to try to, and because there's these people that say they've had near-death experiences, for example, and then there's other people that say, no, you haven't.
Yes.
And it's like, there's people that say, I've seen UFOs. And then there's other people that say, well, no, you haven't seen UFOs because that's not real.
That's not in their reality.
And the believers in that case are the people that are saying, no, you haven't seen a UFO. It doesn't seem like they're the believers because it's a negative belief.
Yes.
But they're absolutely the believers.
And I love where you're going with this.
Yeah. And so with the, with that topic, the experiencers are the ones who know what they saw. I mean, they've seen it. They know what they've saw. They've had this incredible life-changing experience. And then you have these believers that are there on the other side saying, no, you didn't see that. That's not real. And they're saying that because of fear, because it doesn't fit into the reality that they've created in their minds from their beliefs.
Yes.
And their belief is UFO is not real and something else is real. Maybe it's God, or maybe it's
and it's all real, by the way.
Or whatever, maybe whatever that is it doesn't align with the reality that they've created through their beliefs. So they tell the person that it's not real. And of course, that's traumatic to someone who's experienced someone who is sharing their vulnerability and their heart with the person or with the world. And they're being told, no, you're either crazy wrong, or you're lying, or you're wrong, or whatever. So, it's bullyism, talking about bullyism. That's what's happened for decades to the people who have experienced the UFO phenomenon or that have experienced the paranormal phenomenon.
Yeah.
So I guess when I go to simulation, it's nothing that anybody's ever going to be able to experience or know potentially, but the closest thing that I think we have right now is the near-death experiencers.
Yes.
And when you study and you look at near-death experiencers, there's 4,000 plus cases that have been that's probably a low number, actually.
Yeah, there's a bunch that have been.
There's thousands that have been documented, and it's people from all over the world that haven't met each other, that are all saying the same thing, that are all saying, I died, I was clinically dead, and there's like hospital evidence to prove this, totally flatline. I left my body, I saw myself, I was rising above my body. I was greeted by beings. It's usually 2 or 3 beings that they're greeted by. 25% of the time they know who they are.
Yes.
75% of the time it's just these
other
unknown beings. Yeah. And then if they're dead long enough, they see a light or a tunnel, and if they are dead for even longer, they travel through the tunnel
into this
if they're
world.
Dead for even longer, they see what that you might call a heaven. They interact with God. They have life reviews. They have past life reviews, which it's not just about this life. You can also review your prior lives, which speaks to reincarnation as a possibility, which wasn't ever something that I thought twice about until I started listening to near-death experiencers as like, well, these people are saying that it's real and they're the ones that have experienced this, and what the hell do I know? So it's like, well, maybe it is. So my probability of that possibility increased. And as I started thinking, they're all, if they get to a certain stage, they all talk about God and about seeing God and interacting with a it's some being, and it's never judgmental, it's never religious, it's never angry, it's always all loving, it's always all peaceful, it's always this enveloping sense of peace and love that nobody can really describe in human words, but it's just everyone has a very difficult time wanting to come back. They all want to stay where they are, and the only way that they ever come back, and we hear about this, is if they choose to, and if they have had, and if they're still able to, if they have some unfinished business. It's usually children or people that they feel like they can't leave at this point in their life. So when I go to that, and I created this crazy theory about what is God, and where's this tunnel taking you, and I thought that potentially maybe one of the possibilities for where these people are physically actually going is to within the sun. And
whoa.
So the light from the sun being the tunnel. So traveling through the light that is connected with their spiritual self to the sun, traveling through that over time, they get to this place. They all talk about time being completely different and slowed down, which if you're at a high gravity place like the sun, of course, time slows down significantly. With God or the sun, or with this interaction with this being of light and pure energy and pure love. I mean, you think about the sun being a plasma.
Sun's plasma.
Right?
Yeah.
And you think
that's crazy.
Yeah. So you think about it like an intelligence, an intelligent being, and conscious, and so now you're in this high gravity area of light, and nobody really knows what's in the sun. So
no one does.
Is that the place where we go to have these past life reviews to get potentially recycled and come back, or to stay until our loved ones need us to come back and get them? Or could that be a potential explanation for afterlife? And so it's based on what near-death experiencers tell us, and it's maybe taking it to kind of another step or two of saying, how could this actually work in reality if what they're saying is real?
I mean, I'm all for that. Someone like me is a perfect person to tell that to, because the sun is plasma, and supposedly the sun isn't as hot inside. So that would make perfect sense. And I think that there's plenty of places we can go when we pass. So and I think Andrew Collins wrote a book about this, that sometimes the soul goes through different star systems or planets. So of course, in our own home, in our solar system, we would stop at least to do a life review at the sun before maybe we go back to Orion, where our soul family is. And I don't claim to know the answers to all that stuff, right? Because I have memories from all that stuff. Is that the same as these higher beings I'm seeing? I don't know. It all feels the same, but it also, I think, isn't, once again, conceptualized by a human. That's me saying it. But I think it's just more than we will ever know as humans. I love that theory. You said so many things, so you made me think. There's one other thing with sun gods that we were talking about. This might be also a reason that they picture. So there's this picture. Can you look up a scarab beetle smelling the sun, or just a scarab beetle and sun Egypt picture, Ryan? There's this scarab beetle in Egypt and in history, and its tentacles, or its tentacle horn things, are kind of smelling the sun. And for people that don't know, these tentacles are how they sense. It's how they get around. So not only does it look like a wing being, but it also, if the sun is plasma, I think this was showing us that we, just like these beetles, can use our senses to sense plasma or to sense reality. But maybe there's something else there with what you're saying. That's where our ancestors are, or that's where we do these reviews, because it would make sense, these beings with the wings, the sun. So I think it'd be interesting more to look into with that. But I think there's way more to the sun than we think. And see, that's something I've never thought of, but that expanded my mind. And that is, I would like to say too, you reminded me about being open. That's why, yes, okay, I obviously don't call it a simulation because that's not my theory, right? I think we're in a plasma growing reality. I actually don't have a word for it. But you brought up a really good point that I would like to speak on. And I think I say this in my book. I actually don't remember. everyone is in their own reality bubble. So I'm in my own Taurus, and there's almost like a film between me and reality. And what is creating that reality is my conscious beliefs, right? So I'm in this plasma reality, and I believe all these things. And when I die, I think that, can you look up Ryan, can you look up Anita Morjani? This woman, when she had a near-death experience, she came back and she said, whatever you believe, you'll see when you die. So I think there's a lot to be said for respecting everyone's beliefs. Yeah, that's her. She had cancer, Dying to Be Me is her book, had a near-death experience and came back completely healed. Like, it was crazy. And it was something, when she said that, it really spoke to me, because I have to remember this too. Like, everyone is right and everyone is wrong. And that's the nature of truth. It's like this and kind of thing. Like, the simulation theory is just as right as my plasma theory. And I have to remember that. The question is, what reality do you want to live in? So if everything is a story, and let's say plasma, for my all purposes, let's say energy, makes up the pages of the storybook, and we're in a storybook. What do I want to write for my story? If I could write anything with my consciousness ink, do I want to believe we're in a simulation, or do I want to believe maybe we're in a control system, and how does that serve me in life? Or do I, like, obviously my plasma belief serves me in life, and it's going to lead me to live a good life. If I believed in something else, it might just not serve me as much. And I know that the people have those beliefs, and then my beliefs can service the other 100,000 people that choose to live life that way. It's very much the same as religion, without me telling you to follow me and reminding you the power's in you. You don't need it from me. But it's more, I think, where people go wrong and fight in all these religions is that every religion is true in a sense, where they're channeling stuff in their own cultural beliefs, but it's the same energy. So what I'm calling fifth dimension, I'm okay with you calling anything. What I call plasma, you could call anything. I could care less. It's more like I'm channeling the same energy all of us are channeling, and I'm assigning new terms to it that might unlock it a little bit more than the last term did. But you brought up a great point about being open to all those, because it is true. Like, I am not any more right than that. And like, I had to check myself in thinking that. Yeah, because that is true. Yeah. I couldn't say it's not if I'm being neutral. Yeah.
Or open.
It's just, what do you want to choose to believe? And that's what will create your reality.
Beliefs create reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, because...
Like, actually.
But beliefs, when they're mistaken for truth, create reality. Like, we can create a reality that's not based on belief. We can create a reality based on possibilities with probabilities. We can create a reality based on remaining open. You know, and when we remain open, that's a limitless way
that's
to live.
That's the best kind.
It is.
It's receptive.
I mean, it's just openness to possibilities. Like, I mean, I had a guest on that I thought coming in, what he was saying was almost a 0% chance of being true.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, people wanted to hear it. I wanted to dissect, and try to really understand and make sure, but remain open. So my level of openness was like 1%, and I left the interview and it was still 1%, maybe even a little lower than that.
Yeah.
But
you don't have to agree with everything though. You just can't hate them.
You don't.
That's the problem we have.
Right. But I feel like most everybody right now is creating realities through beliefs, and they're saying, I'm right and you're wrong. And this is reality, and this is the way things are.
Yeah.
And your way of thinking of things, they can't think of it as a perspective and as another way of looking at things. They think of it as wrong.
Yeah.
And so it's a very divisive, egoic way of looking at reality.
Yes.
And it's just very dangerous.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's the source of conflict, and it's the reason why we're not about to have World War III. We're still in the same war that was begun when ego began.
Yeah.
I mean, when divisiveness and I'm right, you're
Control.
wrong. Yeah. It's the same war. It's been happening for thousands of years. It's a continuation. World War I, World War II, World War III. It's all a continuation.
Do you know where that started?
It started when Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
So, can I build on that for a second, or are you on a tangent? I feel like I interrupted.
No.
Do you want to finish?
I mean,
I'll remember.
It was that was their knowledge of good and evil, as opposed to being open, and as opposed to being receptive. Neutral. And they became, this is good, this is evil, this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. It all became about these polarities,
yes.
which is kind of an interesting dynamic with plasma, because with plasma you have the negatively charged electrons and the positively charged
proton and nucleus or neutron.
Nucleus, protons and neutrons.
Yeah.
And they're in this constant state of attacking and coming back and attacking and coming back. And you know, that's kind of like, if you look at what's happening with war for 2,000 years, we're attacking each other, we're coming back. We're attacking each other, we're coming back. It's like, that's where it began, with eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, with that separation of. And it all came from the concept of me, the concept of, you know, like, I am a separate entity, and it's this self-image that we now defend. And, you know, it's not about like connectivity with other humans, and it's not about, you know, being one with life. It's about, this is me, and somebody, you know, what? Yeah. So that's that's my. On where it kind of started.
I like everything you're saying.
And I don't know that, you know, obviously Adam and Eve is a story, and it's not like where it actually happened. But I think that either the writers of that book or Jesus himself recognized that and realized that was but they had to kind of speak in, you know, parables and whatnot.
I agree. Yeah. So what I write in my book is that I mean, there's so much that started before this too, but where I found in my research, the first place this started, what you're saying, the duality, the powers outside of us, is in Sumerians. So the first stories ever recorded in history, forget the name, but it was Sumerian tablets, whatever.
Gilgamesh or...
Get their Epic of Gilgamesh. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So in the Sumerian times, they started, you know, these beings that they drew that you could look up the Sumerian drawings. Actually look them up, because they have plasma in them, which is really cool. So they for the first time told they were trying to control community, like this, you know, government formed in Sumerian times, like the first, like, what is it called? I failed history class, but the first kind of establishment of community or something, whatever it was, the first kind of government in Sumerian times that was recorded. They were supposedly collaborating. Oh, there's plasma in the middle. See, they're harnessing plasma. And then the guy has the power of the horizon, which is literally just the sun setting, the power of balance, of neutrality. And then that looks like a plasma globe. It also is the star of Inanna. And Inanna backwards means the cloud of God, or the cloud of Yahweh, which is just like plasma. So basically, the Sumerians were trying to think, how can we control people? And they said, oh, yes, let's make gods outside of them. So they think that they have to go to churches and establishments, and they need stuff outside of them. So it's like they took this inner power and put it all outside of us. And I think we still do with that today. If we were to remember the powers inside of us, and each of us has our own unique individual connection with God or with our higher self, we wouldn't need to fight, because we would understand that everyone has power and everyone has perspective. And we don't need to, argue about it. It doesn't mean I have to like all of your perspectives. It just means that I don't have to hate you. And I should also listen, because the things I've found that sometimes I have the most distaste about, when I listen, I actually learn the most, even if it's just about myself. Like, there's something interesting. They talk about it in process philosophy. I think it's by this guy named Whitehead. I went to one of their conferences about the tension of the opposites, and the tension's where all the answers are, that liminal space. And that's why I like plasma too, because plasma kind of has that quasi-neutrality, and I feel like it reminds me to be neutral, but it also holds duality in it, which is interesting. So we can kind of model humanity where they are in survival, just like plasma is, and then at a grander state where it's more like neutral. So it's kind of fun to look at plasma in that way and assign characteristics of humanity to it. Yeah. But yeah, sure. We really need to respect everyone's beliefs, and I think we just need to hold space for them, like you're doing for me, even though you might not agree with everything I say. Like, when you meet people every day, like, you might just learn something if you can be, like, this woman was talking to me about her AI, and she believed it was conscious, and I didn't believe that at all. And then the more I listened to her, even if I don't believe AIs are conscious, the more I kind of like was open to her as a human and understanding her perspective. And then, like, I did learn some stuff. So I don't know. we should listen more. I should listen more too, though.
Yeah. No, it's a practice. It's like life gives you the opportunity every day and every moment if you're communicating with someone to be open and to listen. And it's a practice that you have to take advantage of, and or not, or just close down and shut down. You know, I mean, that's the other option. But that's kind of where I think where a lot of people are, but that don't realize that it's a practice to remain open, and that they have the opportunity to remain open with every conversation that they have. So, so with you, like, or anybody, I'm not going to disagree or agree with you. I'm going to kind of remain open to it. I'm gonna say, okay, internally, I'm saying, okay, I think there's a high probability of that, or internally, okay, I think there's a low probability of that, for me, like some of the stuff is for me, just, I think it's
interesting perspective.
Yeah, it's a great, interesting perspective that's super unique and super cool. So what can I learn from that, and what can I kind of take from that, and and I think like we often go to judgment immediately of right, wrong, and good and bad, and instead of judging something wrong or bad, we can just have compassion for it, like somebody cuts me off in traffic, instead of getting all pissed off and creating negativity and anger, like I can just have compassion for the person.
I try my best.
Instead of judging it right, I can have gratitude for it, instead of like attaching to it or resisting it on the polarities. I can have compassion and gratitude. And so that's a practice too, is like is saying, okay, well, I'm grateful for this situation, this thing that life has given me, this knowledge, this conversation, whatever it is, or if somebody's just being completely unconscious, complete asshole, whatever, then, we can practice compassion in that moment, as opposed to...
Because they're in pain.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they're mirroring what's internal for them. Yeah, so...
And with being cut off, sorry, I just cut you off.
No,
with
you're good.
Being cut off in traffic, because my actual worst quality is that I do get mad at cars that cut me off, and I could be grateful, and I've had this before. Some of the time, they're showing me where I still need to work on myself, which you can have gratitude for.
Right.
And by the way, I also have cut people off, so it's like I'm the same as them, and I know I'm a good person, so I try to neutralize my perspective. And when cars get mad at me, I try to look them in the eye in their car, and then I smile at them, and then all of a sudden they smile. So I always like doing that when a car is mad at me.
You've got that advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like this, and all of a sudden the guy will be like,
yeah.
Once in a while though, they'll just look at me, their own projection, thinking like I'm an idiot, and they'll like give me the middle finger. I'm like, all
right. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
They're like, stupid girl, blonde girl.
Right, exactly. Yeah. If I'm smiling at some guy, they get even madder, so.
Yeah. I will say, but when I smile at sometimes this is really true. Sometimes when I smile at women, they don't react well to me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Us women have been taught in culture to hate each other, which I try my best literally not to do. Like, I really am in the place in my life. I don't feel in competition with anyone, man or woman. I don't. Someone that could be gorgeous would not intimidate me, or smart. It's like comparison is the thief of joy. And I don't even like to compare myself against myself. I just don't even think about comparison at all.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
We'll see when I have the next boyfriend if I still feel that way. But right now I feel that way.
Yeah. For me, like self-comparison, self-labels, self-definition, identification, and conditioning. Those are kind of like the 5 things that make up that self-image, and like the ego, like the and so I try to just observe that when I do any of that stuff, and then
I'm sure I've done it.
Because that leads to, judging things, and then that leads to the judgment, then leads to creating emotion, and which emotion's great, it's fine, but just to be able to observe it and tie it back to, okay, what is it about self-image? What judgment did I just make to create this emotion? And then go even one step farther back and say, okay, what is it about my self-definitions that have created that judgment, and which then in turn created the emotion? So yeah, it's kind of like an interesting. Those are what I've worked on for 5 years now. Those are 3 out of the 9 practices that kind of, that I've dove into for the last 5 years, and I've kind of just begun now to really share with our with people,
the world,
the company, people, the world. Yeah. So it's kind of.
I'm excited to read it.
Yeah, it's life changing is what it is.
Yeah.
And I hate to. I don't really talk about it unprompted. It's just kind of an internal thing that you can either choose to do or not do, but it's one of those, I think, things that generate self-awareness and emotional intelligence. And when you mean self-awareness, it's those 5 things. It's like learning more about yourself as it relates to self-comparison, self-label, identification, conditioning.
Labeling's a big one.
Labeling's a big one. Yeah.
Like I'm anxious.
Sure, I am anxious. I am whatever. Pacifist, sick. Catastrophist, disabled, sick.
It's like, no, you were. I always say I have been in the past. My therapist taught me to say that because that's you. And a neuroscientist said that too. Caroline Leaf. Like when you label yourself, you're defining who you are right now instead of knowing it's a response to something, like you're saying, because of something. So like, if I said I have in the past been anxious, that lets my consciousness kind of mull around with the fact that like I don't have to be that now, or like it lets us be limitless when we realize there are more things we're signing than things we're victim to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think most people.
I have ADHD. Everyone fucking does.
Right. Yeah. Everybody would be diagnosed with that. Right.
If you don't like something, you don't want to pay attention to it. It's a skill. I don't
exactly.
who likes cleaning their room unless they have OCD, and then they should go to therapy anyway.
Right. But doctors can make money off of it if they tell you that you have.
Totally.
If you have it. So.
And the medication industry.
And there are some people that are probably helped.
Schizophrenia is almost impossible to, that's something that's a real, like, yes, there's real things, but there's a lot of things that we're creating and I know because words are so powerful and I've done it to myself. Yep. So I'm aware and I'm saying it because I've done it. I'm not just.
Right.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah,
for sure.
Those are great. Well, I would love to hear. Can you say the 9 or no? You're not ready to say them yet?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
yeah. I mean, it's authenticity is the first one. And so that kind of gets to the observing yourself. And so it's those 5 things that I mentioned.
Yeah.
And then from your authenticity, it goes into acceptance, which is observing your judgments.
Okay.
And your judgments are a product of the self. And then from acceptance, it goes into accountability, which is observing your emotions and your defensiveness. Primarily emotions is kind of the big thing to focus on there, and that comes from your judgments. Immediately after I judge something, it goes to accountability. Those are kind of the inward practices. So if I'm looking inward, then those are kind of for myself. And then there's relational practices when I'm having a conversation with somebody else. So it's like, how do I interact? What is it about myself? It's observing myself as I'm interacting with other people. Those are the relational practices. So openness is, again, it's observing your
listening,
your condition, your belief, and your ability to listen. Empowerment is observing your fear, which
that's a huge one. Trying to control someone else's perception of you.
The control
will make you miserable.
Yeah. So a lot of people, and you can see this. It's helped so much working in a company and observing everybody's negativity and toxicity over time.
Yeah.
And my own, of course, and like saying, okay, I need to practice for this so that I can let this go. And we've had people like empowerment is one where. People just control people. Like they have no trust. They have no ability to just let people go and let people work. And it's like, okay, we need to practice for that so that we can bring this to the light and so that we can see it and see what it really looks like. And so empowerment is really trusting. It's trusting yourself, trusting other people. Transparency is kind of communicating from your true authentic self and being open, being honest.
That one I know when I'm doing, like I know if my intentions were and I go up to someone, I start a conversation with them and it's like for instance, when I was living in Hollywood, you do talk to people and you hope they invest in your movie, you hope they cast you. You can't do that. They can smell that a mile away. And I knew that I wanted to be cast. So I would go to a casting workshop, meet a casting director. They tell you to have authentic relationships, but you also want them to cast you. And I would just be smelling of desperation. I remember that one used to really get me because I'm also very self-aware. And I was like, they have to smell this right now. And I'm fuck this.
This sucks.
It's like, then don't have the workshop if you don't want us to. It's like, I just wish I met them in the playground, don't know what they do. We form a friendship and then I find out. It's impossible.
Right.
It's like that, in my opinion. Then they need to have more of their own judgment. Because I feel like, for instance, casting directors would judge me for my nerves and intentions, but it's like you're literally having a workshop where you want us to like worship you.
Right. Yeah. And so again, it's not about like doing, like making these right or wrong, like it's not about like,
observing,
it's not that fear is bad. We're just observing fear. It's not that beliefs are bad. We're just observing beliefs. It's not, and like with transparency, it's about that mask, taking the mask off. It's about
like, hey, I'm nervous right now and I want to get casted, but I also want to meet you. That's what I could say.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Transparency. Yeah. Like not role playing, but it's not about not role playing. It's about observing when we are role playing.
I see.
Yeah. So, and then transformational, the 3 transformational ones, I kind of mentioned 2 of them.
Those are great.
Yeah, with compassion being what we can replace negative judgment for if we want to. But it's really, you don't even have to think about it in terms of that. You can just think compassion is forgiveness. It's letting go.
Yes.
It's not holding resentment, and practicing when I do hold resentment, when I'm not letting go, when I'm not forgiving someone.
Yeah.
Gratitude is appreciation and thankfulness.
That's what I'm working on.
Yep. That's a big one. And as opposed to expectation, entitlement, not that those are bad, but let's observe when we have them.
Yeah.
And then presence is just being aware of the present moment. It's kind of like coming back to the present moment. It's observing the voice in the head.
Yeah.
When the voice in the head is constantly like takes us to past and future, or when it just is this incessant stream of thinking.
Yeah.
To break that up through the power of observation, through knowing that my authentic self can observe my mind that is creating all of these thoughts, and through that observation of my mind, I can break that stream. I can stop worrying. I can stop being jealous. I can stop having resentment. I can stop all of my mental patterns. I can completely cure myself of my mental patterns and my issues, and bring myself back to the present moment simply by observing my mind. And so presence is a really, really powerful one. So
I like that. So the ones I would say I'm working on now are gratitude and presence. And I can actually attach that back to plasma. But basically, when I was talking about, really, I could talk about it without plasma. But your current energy, your current resonance. Let's just say plasma is this energy that brings things to you, right? If you're not in a state of appreciation for everything now, you're not going to get those things you want as easily because it's not on the same resonance as you. So when you're having that attitude of gratitude, it's easier for things to even come to you because you're already happy with what you have now. So I'm working on, are we ever going to be where we exactly want to be? Who knows? But it's like, how can I be so grateful for, for instance, even though my mom and me have had a very hard relationship, I wouldn't have been able to write this book if I didn't, if she didn't financially support me for a year when I lived in her house. How, even though, me and my mom have horrible fights and, if there's a camera on me, I'd be so embarrassed. She's the only person I still yell at, and I'm fine admitting that, even though I shouldn't, because she drives me crazy. But I also love her, and, she chose to adopt me, and she did the best she could. Was that the best I needed? No. But then again, what parents is. But there's like gratitude I can find in everything, even when things are hard, if that makes sense. So
totally.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah. Cool. Love it. Yeah, they're deep and they're meaningful and transformational, and they're really powerful. And it's just, you got to think of it as like it's not right or wrong. It's just a practice. Like, and we can choose to practice it or not, but it's helpful. It just helps us kind of stay centered and calm and not plasmatic, where there's this constant, this constant
tension. I like not trying to control things.
Right.
Not trying to, and also the self-judgment's big. Like for me, for a long time, I went through a stage where I was very aware of myself, but I also was harshly judging those things. So I think this would be useful for anyone in the world. That's why I think you should write a book. But just to, what I call emergent living and being in that present resonance and that divine child, those are actually all of the things that what I call the divine child archetype has, which is the wisdom of a grandparent, but the presence of a child, and mixing those together. And I mean, that's what would pop out, So I love it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. What did we miss? What else do you feel like chatting about?
Let me think. I mean, I think we went through a lot. My mouth is so dry. I'm like, trying to think if there's anything left I want to say about anything. I think just if anything's coming through. If not, I don't want to try to over-impress. I think a lot of people are worried about the state of the world right now. And I want to remind people that we co-create our future in reality. So to be careful the stories we're telling ourselves and the world. And, even if we think things and observe them, our words and thoughts are powerful, and we can change what we think will happen and co-create what we want to happen. And the more of us that do that, I still have hope for the future. I'm a very optimistic futurist. I don't think we're in the best position now, as we've talked about. I'm happy to talk about AI, but we don't have to. But I think that we can create completely new beneficial things for humanity, and we're not too far gone. But the only thing you can really do is not try to save the world. It is to work on yourself and know who you are. And the more you do that, the more that'll create resonance and inspire someone else and plant seeds for them to do it. And then, self-expression is very important. I just want to tell everyone, we are here to express ourselves. So be a little bit kinder to yourself. Like you're saying, observe, don't judge yourself, and just be who you are. That's why you're here. No matter how weird it is, what you want to make a business on, what you want to write about, your mind lies to you. It tells you not to do these things because it's trying to keep you safe. But when you go past your fear and dive into those and go through that threshold, then you're living in this fifth dimensional space already. You'll live the life of your dreams, but you have to go through this dark night of the soul. It seems like that's just an initiatory thing for anyone who's going to be themselves in this world.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's cool. One point of clarity, and then I've got another question on the don't judge yourself thing. It's actually a really important
distinction.
Yeah, distinction that it's okay to judge yourself. Okay. Actually, it's just observing when you do. And so, because if we say don't judge, I don't want to judge myself, I don't want to judge other people, that's a judgment.
Yeah.
And so it just turns it into, so this is why I've changed these things from values to practices, because as a value, it's don't have an ego. Yeah. Don't judge. Don't be controlling. Don't be closed down. Those are values. Yeah. But these are practices. These are about, hey, let's observe when we do judge.
You're bringing the humanity back into it.
You're becoming self-aware because you're going back to the root and the core of why is it that I'm judging? What is it about me that I'm conditioned by, identified with, self-labeled? I'm becoming more self-aware by learning, where did that judgment come from? Because now I've separated myself from the judgment, and it's not bad, don't judge. Yes. It's I just judged, and now it's the true self observing it, and it's well, why?
Yeah.
Where did it come from? And then once I go back and there's certain things that I'm going to hold on to probably for the rest of my life. I mean, the process is kind of, once you get there, you can begin to let go of things that we're holding on to if we choose to.
Yeah.
And then we find ourselves having less judgment and less toxic emotions, or less,
No, you're right.
if we're letting go of things, then we have less judgment, which leads to less emotion, less up and downs, more of a state of peace. But there are going to be things, it empowers us and it gives us free will to say, I want to hold on to this part of me, or I don't want to hold on to this part of me. And what we're going to find is that we're going to begin to let go of some things. I visited Michael Singer at his house a year and a half ago. We took
I've been there
walk. Have you? Amazing.
To the Gainesville.
Yes, yes. And the last thing he said as I was leaving was, keep letting go. And so for him, it's acceptance. It's this thing of keep letting go.
I'm working on letting go myself.
For sure.
Yeah.
And,
oh my God.
and that's something, but the letting go doesn't happen because you want it to. The letting go happens because you're making a conscious choice and you realize what it is that you're holding on to.
Yes.
You never realize what it is you're holding on to until you get to the point of self-observation, of being honest with yourself about, hey, I am judging whatever, use a really stupid example, but political party A as bad. Yeah. And it's creating a negative emotion of anger because I am identified with political party B.
Yeah.
And so if I can say, I'm going to go back to the root, to that authenticity practice of saying, is political party B something that I want to hold on to for the rest of my life, create these judgments and create these emotions, or do I want to experience peace and let go of the political system? And that's just one example. There's millions of things that we can identify with or self-label as, or the conditioning's tougher because it's so deeply, it's all of our past experiences and but it's all these concepts of who we are. And who are we? I mean, if we were going to identify as something that was completely free and completely at peace and it's that thing that rises above the body after a near-death experience. You know? It's the life that you are.
Yeah.
And all of the other stuff is in your head. It's all mental identification and
no, totally.
Yeah. And so it's like we can let go of whatever we choose on that mental component of it if we want to. We have that ability to do that if we so choose. If not, hold on to it. Like I enjoy watching the Gators play football. Like I am a Gator fan. Like that is a part of my ego. I'm going to hold on to that one. Like I'm not.
It's your choice.
It's my choice. I'm okay with the judgment day after every play is a judgment. Every play is an emotion that I create. This is good. This is bad. This is right. This is wrong. I'm okay with that because I'm not ready to let go of being a Gator fan.
You shouldn't have to. That's like Outback Steakhouse. Yeah. Like I don't want to eat vegan.
Yeah, it's a choice, and the spikes are less up and down. Right, like we can label ourselves vegan, and we can limit ourselves from ever trying, or we can wake up every day and say,
but we're killing plants.
I'm not vegan. Like I'm just me. So maybe today I will eat meat, and that at least gives you the choice of whether you choose to or not. I didn't eat meat for 3 years, but it wasn't because I was identified as vegetarian. It's because I woke up every day and said, I'm not going to eat meat today.
I think what you're saying, it's like just teach their own. And yeah. I mean, there's so much you said, so it's hard to box it out. No, no, because I kept having thoughts. Number one, I was having a thought. So like, what I know about, without a shadow of doubt, like I know so much about plasma, right? Like I could talk all day about that. Human stuff, a little more of a struggle. Those concepts you shared and this limitless thing, like it seems like that's like your higher self to me expressing itself here. And like, I don't know everything, obviously. I'm like, 36 and talking about plasma. I do know a lot about that and about communicating with other beings, but I'm still learning human stuff. So for instance, I can learn so much from that because your thought about judgment, like I am very hard on myself. And I think that was a projection of the fact that I do judge myself for harsh thoughts I have. And it's true. Like you can't remove our humanity. Like I'm always going to have judgment sometimes, probably. Maybe they'll fade more, but it's about like having compassion for that and then observing it without saying, oh, you just judged, look at you. Right. Like, so I like that you brought that up into my awareness. So I think that you're very connected to that self already. All of us manifest that connection in different ways. So once again, everything I'm saying, it seems like you're kind of connected with your expression for your destiny kind of thing. I was going to say...
And it's not right or wrong. It's just my perspective, like I don't like, it's just like, okay, this is a unique and different and
it's
diverse
right and wrong and both and neither.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool about it though. Yeah. But it can feel right to me. And that means I resonate with it. And if it felt wrong, I wouldn't, like everything you said resonates. The only thing I'll add is because it's like the self, right? And not identifying with that as much. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
There is like
Or observing when we do.
Observing, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you kind of have fused it, which I like, because a lot of people kind of go more into just enlightenment thing and not take, I think the divine feminine gets stripped out of a lot of these more religious teachings, which is not what you're saying. You're more neutral, which I like, is this kind of meeting it in the middle. That's more like the divine child vibes. But a lot of people talk about enlightenment and ascension and stuff, and I feel like we're actually expanding in our consciousness and our bodies. And I think it's important to not, and I don't think you're doing this, but like demonize emotions. So like the feminine and emotions have been suppressed forever, even in business, not to make decisions on emotions. But then again, sometimes there are times where emotions are really great. And it's about figuring out that, but not also being overrun by like the imbalance of emotions. But it's like, how can we learn to associate with emotions differently? Because we all feel them without letting them overtake us to negative or to positive or manic. But it's like, and this thing I talk about, I call it emotional technology. I think there's some magic to emotions that has been suppressed, and using them to create our reality in new ways. I don't even know what I'm saying right now, but I know that emotions need to be a little bit more brought back in. but we don't need to like drown in them or like use them for all our decision making. It's just more like I think they could create a more depth, juicy life if we can like reassociate some of them. You know what I'm saying?
I totally do. Yeah. It's interesting. And for sure, not demonizing emotions. They're absolutely a part of the human experience and humanity in general. And just being able to observe them and understand them. And again, then we can decide.
No, yours felt more not like that at all.
Yeah. I've had deep conversations about this with my wife because she is identified as an emotional person.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so,
most women are.
Right. Yeah. And so she has a difficult time when we start talking about authenticity sometimes accountability because we're observing emotions. And she's, very similar comments to you. Like emotions are good. I'm like, emotions are just emotions. They're not good. They're not bad. They're just emotions.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so I would say the same, that they're good.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And because for me, they're just there. They're just there. Yeah.
I think they're both okay perspectives. And I think if you ever wanted to dive more into the lava of emotion, there is just, I just feel like let me think of the way she said it. They're good and they're all meant to be good. They're all meant to show us things. Kind of like what you were telling me last night. Like emotions kind of almost, you have reverse engineered the process. So I've reverse engineered that and let your mind shut off and let yourself kind of float with each emotion just for one day if you do this ever. And because maybe this isn't your natural habitat, and see like where that takes you without like kind of like the negative capability thing. Like I think you could almost ride your emotions into like other worlds and other experiences that maybe your mind can't do as much. That's all I'll say on that. Just something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Because emotions are like fourth dimensional. So there's a big connection that a lot of people miss out on with emotions in that space. And there's a negative connotation to that space because the truth is most of that has been imprinted with ancestral trauma and death and fear and war. But it's a space of love that has just been constricted and demonized. It really has. So if we can kind of reassociate ourselves with that space but there is of course a balance. We can't just be like all emotional beings. None of us, we would all go and we really would go crazy. But there's something there.
There's something there for sure. Yeah. I mean, I have definitely been more emotional earlier on in my life. And so I've experienced that very deeply, the emotions and the power of emotions and having them kind of lead me and guide me. And
they're very wild.
They're wild.
And raw.
Right. And those emotions, there's a couple of types of emotions. So we should distinguish because the emotions that come from your mind and the emotions that come from judgment can be, if I'm judging something positive, I'll have all these positive emotions, happiness and joy and excitement. And maybe joy is not a good example, but if I'm judging something negative, I might have sadness, jealousy, resentment, depression. But then there's emotions that are not based on judgment. They're in the present. They're in the present moment. They're not from the mind. They're from who we truly are.
Okay.
And so those would be like peace, joy, creativity, wonder.
Yes.
Those are kind of like the emotions that we can really, I think everybody can agree, we can all embrace our true authentic self and not have our judgments be dependent upon something external. You're talking about the power within and internal stuff. And when we create emotions because our mind has just processed light and it's just judged something as good or bad and it's created a mental emotion, the power is really within us, and that's where our true authentic emotions come from. And there's a lot of them, from enthusiasm to joy to peace to calm and creativity to love to compassion to gratitude. You know, there's all of these like very deep inner emotions that exist within the present moment. The other emotions exist within time.
That's the fourth dimensional ones.
Right.
Those are the ones I'm actually talking about. So the ones that you're speaking of, I would call fifth dimensional. I would call them feelings. They're more expansive. Like that we can create with them. I think you're 100% right. I think the ones that we need to reassociate with is what you just said, like the time-based ones. There's a negative attached to it, and it should be. But there's also, I think, a positive side that we need to explore more. Like, And I think the more we explore it, the more it'll lead to actually the ones you're saying. Like, and I think you would agree with this, but like, for instance, anger or, I think anger is a big one, and even sadness and grief. Like sometimes I'll suppress it or not give myself the space for it because it scares me, or I don't think I should feel that way because everything's going okay. So sometimes what I do, this sounds really silly, is I'll put on a song and I'll dance and let the anger shake out or cry or scream. My mom literally thinks I'm having a psychosis when I do this. So I learned I have to do it in my car now until I move out, which is very soon. Well, now by the time I'm leaving. So I live in Portland now, but I'm time traveling. I put on music and I will let myself feel that emotion, but it's because I know that it won't take me over and I'm going to go like kill someone with my anger. So like, I think take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, but I think there's spaces we can create to let these negative emotions be expressed in creative ways that are not negative. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And the negative stuff we
not
can
in
embrace,
a workspace.
You know? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, good. Yes.
Not in a word. Basically, this is what we do so we can actually be normal at work.
Right.
But it's, it's a good, I think it's a good counterbalance to like when you're observing yourself and notice those things coming up. Maybe they're bubbling up because they need to be expressed fully. And it's like, okay, where can I give myself the space, whether it's working out or rock climbing or video games or reading? Like, where can I give myself a space to let these emotions be? Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yep.
Just energy we're getting out. They're all just waves. They're all just waves we're assigning things to.
Yep.
I don't even know how to assign my emotions, honestly. Could be a good or a bad thing. Like when I have emotions, I experience them more as like symbols and colors. And I actually have like 5 emotions at once. And then my therapist has to teach me how to isolate them. That can happen with people with trauma a lot. But I feel like there's actually a superpower in associating emotions more with like, for instance, I could tell you today I'm feeling more like a winter day that kind of looks like a lime. Like I have like synesthesia where I can associate it with taste and colors, and that can tell you more about my emotions. But I think there's actually a weird multidimensional way we could go more into those that could benefit us. But that's for another time because that didn't make any sense.
Good stuff. Love it. Well, it's been awesome to chat with you.
Yes.
It's been fun. It's made sense. You've got a beautiful perspective.
Thank you.
And it's all channeled and it's in and it's out and there's no filter. And that's something that we can all kind of, aspire to possess more of.
Yeah.
So
there is no filter. I always sometimes wish I could be more like Oprah or like Mel Robbins, who's just like, I talk like this and I am so poised, and I could do that all day acting, but I learned doing that it wasn't me. So I was just like, you know what? Even if I'm saying something that's smart, but it sounds stupid, I'm just going to say it. And even if it's funny or silly, but I know what I'm saying is smart, if someone wants to take me seriously, they will. And even if I was talking like poised and smart, right? Sorry, I keep looking at the camera, poised and smart. But like if I was talking more like this, for instance, and just being the Dana I think I'm supposed to be, and I'm talking about plasma in this way, they would still think I was crazy. So I may as well just be me. Yeah.
Love it. Why Dana the Alien? Why is that your name?
Yes. I think it has morphed over time. So when I was younger, I felt like an alien because I felt like I was like no one else. I was adopted. My parents were a lot older than me. I felt like I wasn't supposed to be here kind of thing. I never wanted to come to Earth, and here I am, poor me. And then over time, I've kind of embraced it more that like I am an alien, but I am on Earth and Earth is my home and I love it. But we're also all aliens. Like we're all just visiting here, but it is our home right now. And it's like, I think I'm also just like uniquely myself, which is kind of alien to most people, right? But we can all be like that. But I think it started with the fact where I felt more like I was other. And now I feel like I'm actually connected to all humans because we're all very similar at our core. But I still think we're all aliens. And we're all interdimensional beings just in earth bodies. Like what you're saying, kind of. We're limitless beings in a physically limited body. But we can still do limitless things with our consciousness. And we can do limitless things by learning about plasma, which is the vehicle for our consciousness. The end. I'm just kidding.
Love it. Well, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. I mean, do you think that like past lives, and do you think that goes back, infinite amount? Like, do you think that we're always been intelligent beings and that we're from potentially other star systems? Or do you think like we can go back and maybe I was a dinosaur 65 million years ago or something?
I think it's actually both. I think it's one of those paradoxical things that can't be put in a human mind. Like, I have lifetimes where I was a star and I was a little piece of like light in a star, and the star blew up. And I remember I left all my families of lights, and I like cried in therapy about that.
So how does this come up? Like, how do you see that?
That was just something that came to me. It was just like, and I've written stories about it. I wrote a story about a seagull that was a star. I don't know. It's just a memory I have, and it makes me emotional, so I believe it. I mean, I'm not making it up. If anything, I wish I didn't have these because they're kind of embarrassing to talk about because they sound crazy. But it's like, I'm told to just, I'm here to express myself, right? So I'm just expressing my truth, and that's, but I have memories of that. I have memories where I was a person in a jungle named Joy, and I got separated, a lot of separation. Got separated from my family, almost like Pocahontas style, and I climbed up in this tree, and I was, these people were like looking for me, and I fell out of the tree and hit my head and died. And I have a memory of that life, and I had to grieve that life. I have a memory once where I was in a cave, and I can still see it to this day. I walk out of the cave. It's dark. There's a light cave. I can see like, it's kind of like Sedona looking, like all the rocks in the jungle. And this is my first time being out of the cave. I guess woman couldn't be out of the cave at this time. And someone yanks me back. I like get upset even talking about it now, but someone yanks me back from my hair back into the dark cave like the men, because the women couldn't be out. And something like my head got hit and I die that way. But I just have all these weird memories. But yeah, I think all possibilities, what you just said, are true. Mm-hmm.
Love it. Well, let's wrap it up.
Yes.
It's been amazing to talk with you and get to know you. It's super cool. Really cool perspective and just views on life and reality and consciousness and plasma. So thank you.
Thanks. My mind's still telling me right now, it's not enough. You didn't say enough. So that's the lovely human mind.
Sure,
I'm observing.
Right. The voice in the head. Yeah, you got to observe it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So how can people follow you?
Yes. So you could buy my book, A New Force, on Amazon. So the best way to find it is to go to my Instagram, Dana.thealien, or my TikTok at Dana Kippel, or my YouTube channel at Plasma Intelligence. And the link in the bio will take you right to all the links for my books, for my plasma sweatshirts. And then I don't know if it'll be ready by the time this is out, but in November, December, my metaphysical school will be out, Magic School, Hogwarts for Adults. I'm going to get sued by Hogwarts for that. And then how else? DanaKippel.com is my website. So, but yeah, I'm mostly on, I would say, Instagram and YouTube nowadays.
Cool. Yeah, you're almost 200,000 on IG, which is pretty cool. And then you started a YouTube channel in January, and you're already up to 15,000 followers on there. So, I mean, you're new. You're kind of coming out there into public, and people are, I think, digging what you have to say. So that's fast growth for YouTube for 10 months or whatever. So congrats.
Funny thing in Instagram, in last December, I only had 7,000 followers.
Oh, really? Wow.
So I just started talking. So basically on TikTok, I started talking about plasma 2 years ago, and I went from 0 to now 150. And then after a year on TikTok, it was almost like me coming out. I was like, everyone, this is who I really am. I love plasma. And I was like, I didn't have a bad reaction. So I went to Instagram where like my actual friends were. And I started talking about it, and all of a sudden just kept growing. And this is like just right after my dad passed in December. I started talking about it in January because I was like, forget it. Like, I'm just going to be myself fully, like totally myself. Yeah. And then it just blew up, and I still cannot believe that happened.
Awesome. Well, congrats, and more good stuff to come.
Yes. Many more things.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Good stuff. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan.